NASCAR Nationwide Series at Montreal, brought to you by Carfax. And Haynes, with panties that won't ride up. Be wedgie free. Here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the cars are fired and rolling as let's take a look at our starting lineup of the 43 of the 44 that made it into today's race. And on the front row, on the inside, Scott Pruitt did not set a track record, but remember, 80 horsepower less from a year ago. And Max Pappas, second year in a row, he's sounding like Avis. He's in the number 2 spot. I tell you, Marcus Ambrose, he ran so good last year. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he wins this thing. Take a look at row number 3 as we move a little bit further back. There's the fellow Quebecer with Carpentier. All Canadian. You know what, Ron Fellows, he's going to be very good here. Stephen Wallace, a good run for the 66 car, especially when they blew a drive shaft yesterday, and they will be having to go to the back of the field, unfortunately, because it forced them to make an engine change. A good qualifying run out of both these guys, Joey Logano and Brad Coleman. Coleman, we know he can do good in a road course. This was Logano's first time here, so, hey, great job. You know what, Ron Hornaday and Mike Wallace, this is probably one of the most exciting roads all day long. Yeah, it'll be fun watching them down into turn number 1. Take a look at row number 7, Jason Leveler and Justin Marks. Marks did very well in qualifying. Take a look at row number 8, Greg Biffle and Andrew Ranger. Andrew won the Canadian Tire race this morning. He knows how to get around here. Biffle got here from Pocono, doesn't have to start at the back of the pack. Now, big gainer for him. Scott Wimmer and Carl Edwards. Edwards jumped out of the helicopter. He's ready to go racing. Another big advantage for both of those guys. Brian Simo, Landon Castle. Castle in the 4 this week, not the number 5. Boy, take a look at DJ Kennington. He's from this area. And Stanton Barrett. Stanton's a real good road racer. Wouldn't surprise me if he has a good, solid run today. You know what? Here we got Alex Garcia and Jason Keller. Jason Keller, 440 starts, but he's a rookie today. Yeah, here at Circuit Montreal, yes. And Kelly Byers and Mike Bliss. Bliss not known for his road prowess. As we see also Brad Keselowski and Kenny Wallace in 14. I tell you, Keselowski's got a good car, and Kenny, he's fired up. He's got a good, pretty decent qualifying run. I believe they both can have good runs. Point leader, Clint Boyer, starting back in row 15. And right behind Keselowski in the row in front of him. There's David Rudiman, another one of our 5 double-duty drivers in row 16. But take a look here, Brandon Witt and Derek Cope. Cope won the 1990 Daytona 500. He's looking for victory. Again. Here we go. We got Scott Steckley and Jeff Fuller. These guys here, they're going to be trying to hang on to these lead packs. And in row 19, Wheeler Boys and Scott Gaylord. Gaylord celebrating a birthday in the not too distant future. Take a look at Dale Quarterly, Don Thompson. These are 2 guys we normally don't see on the NASCAR Nationwide Series, but boy, they are pumped up to be up here in Montreal. Bringing up row 21, you got Trevor Boys and Stan Barrett, 65 years old for Stan Barrett. What a day. And in row 22, it'll be Morgan Shepherd, a former winner in the Nationwide Series on a road course. All right, let's also check in on our onboard cameras. It's Clint Boyer. He'll be starting 29th in the BB&T Chevrolet. And also we've got Mike Bliss with an onboard with the Miccosukee Resorts Chevrolet. He's starting 25th. And then we move up to the 18th starting position, the City Financial Ford of Carl Edwards. There's Mike Wallace. He's starting 11th in the Geico Toyota. And then you see Boris said he'll be 7th on the grid in his No Fear Smithfield Ford. And we've also got a foot camera as he's the traditional heel-toe type of driving specialist. We'll show you that as the race goes on. And then also Ron Fellows, who's starting 6th in the GoDaddy.com Chevrolet. And Patrick Carpentier, who will be 4th in the Subway Dodge. All right, so let's get the latest update from pit lane. Vince Welch, what do you have?
Well, Marty, of course, every driver would like to win this race, but for the 9 Canadians that are entered into this event, a lifelong memory would be a victory here today. Of course, the French Canadians, Jacques Villeneuve and Patrick Carpentier, are the crowd favorites here. But for a guy like Ron Fellows, who admitted to me, well, I'm English Canadian, not exactly the favorite here in Montreal, but he said Gilles Villeneuve was my hero. It would mean the world to me to win. You saw him get emotional as he began to talk about it, and he said, goosebumps. I get goosebumps just thinking about winning at this track. That's what it means for these drivers here today. Mike?
And Vince, when it comes to road course racing, many things go against the grain of conventional thinking. And of course, pit strategy is no exception. Ask any crew chief and they'll tell you to win this race, they have to run it backwards strategically. In other words, they want as few pit stops as possible. They want to be on pit road as early as possible so they can achieve one thing, so that they may be the first guy on pit road for that final round of pit stops. Fuel mileage is just about everything here. Of course, one mistimed caution flag could throw that strategy completely out the window, and all the strategies will change on the fly. Jack?
Mike, you want to talk about conventional wisdom going out the window? Well, how about inclement weather? Slick tires are the norm for these cars, but all the teams have mounted these Goodyear Racing Rain tires. Now, each group has a set of one set of tires. Should we go to rain, NASCAR will go to a competition yellow. They'll actually stop the cars for 3 minutes. They'll be able to put a windshield wiper on, and they'll also be able to try and dry the interior of the car out. Everybody had their eyes looking heavenward. They saw dark clouds and they started to shake their head. They have never run a race with rain tires. These tires here, manufactured back in 2001. Will they see use today? Marty will find out.
All right, thanks, Jack. As we get ready to go green here, and still working on their second pace lap. Take a look at the top performances on the road courses in the last 4 races. That covers 07 and 08. And that man starting third is looking real good.
I tell you, really is. Marcus Ambrose is strong, but take a look at Scott Pruitt. This guy has won almost everything he's got in with the Daytona prototypes. He's on the pole for the day's race. I tell you, man, it's going to be hard to beat Scott Pruitt today.
He finished 5th yesterday in the Grand Am event right here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. All right, let's take a look at our full race analysis here on this 2.71 mile layout. We'll go a total of 200 miles and 74 laps. 30 miles an hour is the pit road speed. It feels like a snail crawling through there. And the pit window, this is going to be the key, we think, right?
It's going to be, Marty. This pit window, 28 to 34, it's all over the board right now. Nobody really knows what kind of fuel mileage you're going to get. They're basing it off of Mexico, but this place is different, a different altitude, a different fuel burn. Big question mark right there.
The fuel cells are a lot smaller than they were here last year, too. So these guys are really in the dark here when it comes to fuel mileage.
Here are the two that are moving to the rear. Trevor Boys, they made adjustments that were not allowed by the series, and we documented the fact Stephen Wallace, they had to change the engine yesterday after blowing the drive shaft. All right, let's get our booth sleepers. Rusty, who do you pick?
Guys, I got to go with Ron Hornaday, the number 33 Kevin Harvick car. This guy knows how to run a road course. Kevin puts a great car under him. I'm picking Hornaday for my sleeper.
My sleeper, you know what, is Joey Sliced Bread Logano. This kid continues to impress. He's got a great qualifying run in 10th. Man, you just can't count him out.
And I'm going to go with the 27 of Brad Coleman. I just like the way he handles himself on the road courses. He finished 8th here last year and has done very well, dating all the way back to 2005. All right, we can already tell you that off into the distance, we are seeing rain falling over the city of Montreal. It's a matter of when, I think now, not if. So we are getting ready to go green as you see the threatening clouds off to the northwest.
Can we get that vortex going around here they always talk about?
I tell you, it looks tough out there. Look behind, down towards the doggone hairpin, guys, the bridge right there in Montreal. A lot of rain in that area, folks. We could see rain tires. We could see this race in rain, and we haven't seen that in a long time.
Well, we've had other history-making events this year in the Nationwide Series, of course, with Joey Logano becoming the youngest ever to win when he took the checkered flag earlier this season. Could we see our first ever NASCAR event with rain tires? Well, they're making their way down towards turns 13 and 14, and this huge partisan Quebec crowd coming to their feet right outside our position. And every time Carpentier and Villeneuve do something spectacular, they will let you know.
Absolutely. Well, one of the biggest things for all these guys, especially from 10th on back, as you see Patrick warming them up, is this first turn. It's not like qualifying. They're going to have to slow down a whole lot more.
Can you put into perspective for the fans back in America what it's like to be racing in front of your home province?
I'll tell you what, one thing you got to look at, guys, these guys are getting ready to come into turn 13. See this green area right here, right in front of you? If they blow this turn, they can stop right there on this area off to the right. And if they do that right in this area right here, folks, they won't get a penalty. But if they don't stop, they'll get penalized. Here we go.
You ready?
Be ready.
Ready? Ready?
Get ready. Race 23 is green. Down into turn number 1. Is everybody going to give everybody room?
Clean so far. You see the lightning in the background.
Yeah. The sparks are flying on the track, and the sparks are flying off in the distance.
Right now, these drivers are going to run these things pretty hard for about 5 laps. The drivers tell me they're going to start cooling the brakes after that. Just kind of setting into a pace right now. But you see Scott Pruitt just jumping out in the lead with Max Pappas right on his bumper right now.
Marcus Ambrose in 3rd with the 59, and then Patrick Carpentier in 4th. Jacques Villeneuve is 5th. There's Ron Hornaday as he's having some action with Joey Logano.
Well, Ron Hornaday is action. I think that's his middle name. So he's going to want to get up there as quick as he can to be aggressive and get going. Jason
Leffler and Mike Wallace having a little duel going into that corner. Leffler gets the best of it. That's Brad Coleman in the 27.
These guys are exiting a turn right now, heading down to the hairpin at turn 10. This is where they talked about setting up some passes right now to single file at the moment.
You see Hornaday breaking low on Joey Logano. Gotten a good run, and Coleman's following.
Yeah, Coleman's going to try and follow in the second car through. Will it work? No. Hornaday made it. Logano didn't. And already Pruitt's trying to open up some distance over 2nd and 3rd.
About 165 miles per hour down this long back straightaway into turn 13 here in Montreal.
That's one thing we saw in qualifying. The top speeds were not that much different between the Toyotas, the Fords, and the Chevys, Randy.
No, not at all. You know, there's I think there's 6 Toyotas in the field, and 5 of them were in the top 15 in qualifying. So they are starting very good. These guys can see the clouds just like we can. And they're like, man, I'd rather race this thing as quick as possible.
Take a look at Leffler and Joey Logano. Logano's got the preferred line through turn 2.
Guys, one of the key things they need to do here today is keep the front fenders on these cars. If they get a little too aggressive, tear up those leading edges of those front fenders, these cars don't have enough downforce to handle real good. So these drivers are very cautious of their front fenders, and they're watching the brakes right now like we talked earlier.
Boy, Mike Wallace is getting shuffled.
When do you ever see a driver be cautious?
Boy, never. But yeah, they have to do it here, though, Randy. They know the circumstance they're up against. Oh, Mike gets turned around just a little bit, turned sideways.
Yeah, Justin Marks got into him just enough to get him crossed up enough. But look at the ding on the 38 as he comes through. He's got a dent on the front hood. Jason Leffler, as he has picked up a couple of spots now.
Drivers enter in turn 8. This is another key place they can pass at. Talked about the other day. Very, very important corner for them.
And take a look at the battle for 2nd in turn 10. We're hearing there's a chance of sprinkles down there already, and Marcus Ambrose takes the position away from Max Pappas. There is also action a little bit further back with involving Ron Hornaday.
You see Patrick Carpentier trying to get that nose out in Max Pappas to try to pass him. Max has got to keep that inside lane to ward off that pass.
Down into turns 13 and 14, on board with Carpentier.
This might give us a headache if we stay up there too long on that one.
Coming across the start-finish line as we complete another lap. We have 72 to go. We're working lap 3. Max Pappas right in front of the 9 of Patrick Carpentier. And it's Pruitt, Ambrose, Pappas, Carpentier, Villeneuve. That's your top. And there's Brad Coleman trying to hold off the 33 now of a hard-charging Ron Hornaday.
Hornaday's got about 2 or 3 sections coming up right now where we can set up a pass in Brad Coleman. Getting into turn 6 and again getting into turn 8. We'll see what happens here. He's been all over the bumper of Coleman. This is turn 6 right now they're coming at. Doesn't look like he's got enough on him right now to get it done.
All right, as we let this field go through, we're holding for the 66 of Stephen Wallace. Remember, he started in the back of the field. He has already picked up 14 positions, up to 26. So the 5-hour energy has gotten a blast of energy and trying to fight his way back front.
Now, he's doing good right now, but when he needs to manage those brakes, I see the brake rotors on that car just a little bit red right now. Although I would say most of the competitors are having that same condition at the moment.
Well, Rusty, I mean, he's learned from you, and I'm not sure you ever conserved a whole lot of when you were driving.
No, I haven't conserved a lot, that's for sure. But this track, they all tell us, Randy, they got to watch the brakes. You can't drive the car as hard as it really wants to go.
Take a look as we got some action turning underneath. That's DJ Kennington going under Landon Castle in the 4. That's Mike Bliss getting passed by the 66 of Stephen Wallace. And also here comes Clint Boyer in the 99 as Jason Keller is the victim there as Boyer gets around him. But Ruderman not able to get it done. Remember, the points championship is very much in play here because Boyer not known for his road course racing, as is Brad Keselowski. And Carl Edwards is saying, I'm hoping to pick up a bundle of points today.
Yes, he is. And, you know, he's the most aggressive out of the bunch right now of the double duty guys.
We can tell you right now that Edwards is running 14th. He is the best of the top 3. Boyer is 25th. Keselowski is now 30th. So take a look. After 3 laps, you've got Pruitt out in front of Ambrose and Max Papis in 3rd. And then you've got the 2 Quebec residents as the rain tires are coming out. The crews are getting ready. Will we have history today at Montreal? Stay with us.
2, 1, we're back. GoPro.
Back here at Montreal, let's take a look at our calendar because tune into ESPN 2 tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for NASCAR Now. And don't miss the Sprint Cup Series race at Pocono. That's tomorrow at 1 Eastern on ESPN. And then NASCAR Now returns to wrap up the weekend events tomorrow night, 10 Eastern, and Monday at 5 o'clock here on ESPN 2. For more, just log on to ESPN.com. Here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, the rain continues to threaten, but the biggest threat right now to everybody else is that man right there, Scott Pruitt. He has about a 2nd lead over Marcus Ambrose. They have checked out on 3rd place Max Papis. He is another 4.3 seconds behind. Let's get an update on the weather situation. Pit lane, Jack DeRoot.
Well, fellas, it is beginning to spit here on pit road, and they are big drops. And that's one of the reasons why you're not seeing anybody pit as early as we anticipated. Why bother when they feel that rain is coming, and there will be that NASCAR caution. If the rain does come, as we said before, they're going to get 3 minutes to make the changeover to rain tires and to windshield wipers. So right now, everybody's riding on the edge just a little bit. It's beginning to rain everywhere, and umbrellas are coming out.
Yeah, they're popping up faster than dandelions in my yard.
Okay, this is where these drivers need to be careful right now. They're on slick tires. It's starting to rain. The rain's coming from the hairpin turn, blowing down towards turn 1 and 2 in that direction. Same direction these cars are going right now. So, man, this is a tough time because the umbrellas are out. Drivers are probably screaming to their crew chiefs what's going on. And
we talked about the fact that lap 6, if you believed that you could go 34 laps, that would open up your window to make it in 2 stops. But as we so aptly pointed out from pit lane with Jack, nobody's going to come in right now because you don't know when NASCAR could throw the yellow.
A lot of these guys are also using these race cars up. We see these rotors early on here just glowing red.
Let's take a look at Jacques Villeneuve as he comes down through, and we'll get a good shot of his tires and take a look at his brakes.
We'll get another shot here. Yeah, take a look at that solid red. Folks, we're only 6 laps into the race, and these drivers have got very, very hot brakes already. Caution's out.
The full course yellow has flown here on lap number 7. And the rain is falling. And now the question becomes, do we make history in the NASCAR Nationwide Series?
And we could make history today because this is the perfect scenario. Not real hard rain, but rain here in Montreal. And I'll tell you what, there's not many drivers out there, guys, that got experience racing in the rain.
You know what? These ringers that are in the group, they all race in the rain. And I'm sure Marcus has too. So this might just take these ringers farther away than from the other guys.
Yeah, it could be a 7-car race basically, and then everybody else could be just a matter of survival. Let's go back to Japan, to Suzuka, because remember the exhibition where you, Randy, and you, Rusty, were both involved.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I went to Suzuka that day and qualified in the rain, and we were slipping and sliding all over the place, and there's Dale Earnhardt Sr. off course, bouncing around through the track, but got back on, did a pretty good job, but it took us a while to figure out how to race in the rain.
Well, what happens is, you know, what we see is you follow the tracks in front of you, and if the guy in front of you went off, hey, you were going to go off.
Well, and this was Watkins Glen, where this was a practice session. It ended up not being run in the rain, but those are the 2 times when the rain tires have been broken out, and you can see the raindrops falling a lot heavier now. And we're waiting for word from NASCAR officials as to what the next step will be here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Marty, they got the windshield wipers. They got all the stuff they need. But the biggest problem these guys are going to have is fogging the inside of the car up. There's a lot of humidity, and it gets to where the windshield, Randy, gets so fogged up you can't even drive the car. You can't see.
You almost need a defogger.
I don't really think there's many NASCAR guys, nationwide teams that are really prepared big time for rain here.
For more, let's check in with Jack Arute.
Well, let's answer Rusty Wallace's question first. Rusty, you're talking about the fog in the inside. What they do is they add the anti-fog on the inside of the windshield. They add it on the outside of the windshield. They also, most of the drivers started with some cloth stuffed underneath the seat so they can wash away some of that condensation when it comes in. But I want to show you these rain tires. Now, these aren't untried or untested as you saw in the video. According to Goodyear and according to what the teams have been told, this is the heavy rain tire that Goodyear once used in road racing. You know, they have a medium and they have a lightweight and they have a heavy, and this was for heavier cars. But as we said at the beginning, we're about to see history made, because never in actual race conditions have they been used. And a lot of the teams, one of the other things that they did in preparation for this rain, what about radio communication? Well, they've got spare radios and they've wrapped them in plastic, so if the condensation in the rain, as you see, starts to get really bad, I may lose my RF equipment. Most likely the drivers won't.
Well, I can remember back to Sebring one year where the fog was so bad in the BMWs. Hans Stuck, they gave him one of those squeegees with a big long handle on it. He'd shift, reach down, grab the squeegee, clean the window, shift, grab the squeegee, clean the window. But that was Hans Stuck, and he was a rain master. Right now, we have had no windshield wipers obviously mounted at this time, so as NASCAR said, they would give them a period of time where they would be able to mount the tires and the windshield wipers. Let's get more from pit lane. Mike Massaro.
And Marty, certainly not everybody wants to see these rain tires used, but Brad Parrott, your driver has a ton of experience in the rain. How does this affect your chances?
Scott, he does a great job with everything during the rain. You know, the Grand Am races and everything he does, you know, it's all about rain in those Grand Am races. And Timmy Keene told me that I had the best driver out here for sure in the rain, but I can't thank this Fastenal crew enough for everything they've done with this race car. Thank Brian Patty back at home for giving me this race car, this same car that Pruitt ran at Mexico last year, and just can't thank everybody at the shop and the motor department especially. We got some horsepower this weekend.
What is NASCAR telling you about the procedure right now?
Procedure is, you know, I think we'll red flag it here the next lap. When we get everybody has a set of rain tires up on the wall. They'll bring us to the pits. We have 3 minutes to put our windshield wiper on, hook our defogger up, make sure our brake lights are working and everything in the rear window, and then we'll put them back in line and we'll go racing again. This is new to everybody, you know. I know NASCAR racing's fun and everything, but, you know, we got a lot of equipment, you know, pit guns and everything that's never performed in the rain, like the Grand Am cars and the Indy cars and everything. So really don't know, you know, how our equipment's going to perform for sure. So everybody at Fastenal and everybody involved in this race team has been awesome.
Well, Vince, this may be new for everyone, but it seems to be more new for some than others.
With Gary Cogswell, he's the crew chief for Marcus Ambrose, and right now he's giving instructions to his crew in regards to what each crew member will do during this pit stop that's going to include changing the tires. You see Cogswell, everybody trying, as Brad Parrott said, to keep their equipment dry as well. They're going to pull the rubbers out of the rear springs as he's given there, and we're going to give Gary Cogswell a moment, and we'll come back and get to him.
Yeah, he looks like he's quite busy. Although, okay. There you see. Let's go back down to you, Vince. It looks like he's done.
All right, Gary, I know a lot of communication on the radio. What can you do beyond putting on the rain tires and the windshield wiper?
We can make a lot of adjustments as long as we don't jack the car up. You know, basically your car to run fast on a dry track is way too stiff to run on a wet track. So we're trying to do what we can do without dialing ourselves right out of contention for later in the race at the same time. So it's a bit of a guessing game, a bit of a gamble on what's going to happen, what the weather is going to be like in another hour. But we're going to go down our road, and hopefully it'll pay off for us in the end. Mark's done a great job. Thanks to STP, Ford, Tad, and Jody Geschuchter. Great race team.
There you go, guys. That's what you can do for now. We'll see. A lot of questions yet to be answered.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. As you can see, it is very, very wet out on the racetrack right now. And in fact, we had a report that one of the cars managed to slide off. And we've got several cameras down right now because of lightning in their proximity. And we obviously also have to take into consideration safety.
You know, we talked about racing in the rain, Marty, but you know, if the rain is pretty light, I believe these guys will be fine. But if the rain is real hard, I don't believe NASCAR continue at the moment, because if you get big standing water on the racetrack, even the rain tires won't handle that. It'd be a tough deal.
And we do have what happens when you have slicks when it starts to get wet. That's 61 of Stan Barrett right there going around. No harm though. Yeah, a little bit. Oh, that poor guardrail. And then take a look here. Are we going to do this again? Yep, guess so.
He must just think he's stunt driving all over again.
Yeah, Stan, a famous stunt driver.
Rusty, we did this at Pocono one year. Remember rain during Pocono? We ran around about 15 laps under the rain. Bobby Allison got crashed.
All right, well, they are bringing the cars into pit lane. You see the red flag being held at pit in. So we're going to stop things here and wait for everybody, as we heard, to get the rain tires mounted and ready. And as they pull into pit lane, we're only at lap 8 of 74 here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It is Scott Pruitt in first, Marcus Ambrose second, Max Pappas third, Patrick Carpentier fourth, and Jacques Villeneuve rounding out your top 5. We should point out there was no need for an Aaron's Lucky Dog when the yellow came out, because everybody was still on the lead lap. We hadn't had any lapping, didn't have enough time.
Hey, you know what? On the move, you got to say something to Stephen Wallace. Stephen Wallace, Vince, it's all you.
Well, there you see Marcus Ambrose. He is in the car, his crew getting ready to go over the wall. They wanted, and the NASCAR officials came and indicated that they want all the cars on pit lane before the crew members went over the wall, just from safety, from a safety perspective. Ambrose is taking off his helmet. You see they're going to change helmets for him as well. And you heard crew chief Gary Cogswell mention the windshield wiper, the rain tires, of course, taking some rubber out of the rear, making a shock adjustments in the front. But they've got 3 minutes to make their adjustments, and the NASCAR will line them up as they were on the track initially. Now the crew members just waiting for official word that they can indeed go over the wall and start making those adjustments.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be exciting. If they go back green with these rain tires, it'll be the first in a long time, and I can't wait to see it, Marty. It's going to be a great turn 1, that's for sure.
Well, while we wait, let's also give a tip of the hat to those that moved up the most, and point out those who actually backed up the most as well. Stephen Wallace came up from 27 positions and is now, I'm trying to find out where he is on the speed. He's up to 13th. So 27 positions for Stephen, and he is the best mover. Morgan Shepherd picked up 7 positions. Those going in reverse, Derek Cope, the biggest loser so far since the start of the race, he has backed up 10 positions here and is running 43rd and is currently listed in the pit lane.
One of the things that this rain has done, Rusty, is allowed Stephen's brakes to cool off a little bit.
I think this has allowed everybody's brakes to cool off. Look at that sight right there. I mean, hey, we're doing it, man. Going to the rain tires, windshield wipers going on the 40 car. You see that? This is something NASCAR's been wanting to do for a long time, Marty. Just couldn't do it.
Get your DVRs running, folks, because you're seeing history again in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. The 3-minute clock is running, and the rain tires are going on. Mike, let's get an update on Scott Pruitt.
And Scott Pruitt sounds real pleased with his race car before the rain came out. He said he's just being real conservative, trying to take care of those brakes. And as I went up to interview Brad Parrott, the one thing he said to me is, I really like our chances. This guy's got a ton of experience in racing in the rain. So they were already confident coming into this race. That confidence just boosted a little bit when the rain started to fall, guys.
Well, and one of the things that changes, there is a rain line that is totally different than the normal dry line. And we probably should point that out for everybody.
Yeah, they'll definitely run out of the normal racing groove. The normal racing groove's got a lot of rubber in it. You know, it's pretty slick, and they'll drive out of line. In fact, when you see them going into turn 1, instead of going right on the bottom of the track, guys, they'll probably move up about a half a lane. And then it's going to be the same thing all the way around the racetrack until the track starts cleaning itself up and drying out. Then they'll probably go back to more of a conventional line.
Because these rain tires need water to go through. But standing water, you know, you would need a plow to get through that. So, you know, these guys are going to be offline. It looks like sometimes they're going to be in the dry and sometimes going to be in the wet here.
Let's get more from the weather situation from Jaggerroot.
Marty, I'm beginning to think that maybe I'm the resident weatherman here, but let me tell you, the rain has not stopped, but it's becoming intermittent. And as you guys are talking, you're putting these rain tires on. They're the heavy-duty rain tires. If all of a sudden after this 3-minute break they go back out, yeah, you'll have some time where you can go through the puddles. But keep in mind, when you have to add all of that grooves, you go from a very thin tire with a racing slick is about the amount of rubber on that tire is about the width of a credit card, to now you've got a lot pretty darn close, a lot closer than what you and I would have on our passenger car. And heat is the biggest enemy of rain tires. You got to keep them cool. Let's remember too, they're going to have some running lights on these cars, so that's going to be fun to see too.
Well, there's the windshield wiper installed on Mike Wallace's Geico Toyota. He right now is listed in 17th position.
You know, one problem I see with the racetrack, I drove the track the other day in a pace car, and it was raining the day that I did do that. There is a lot of standing water on this course. This course isn't very smooth, and there's a lot of areas where water can gather almost 2 to 3 inches thick. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers negotiate that. It'd be like driving through a major mud puddle.
Change your shoes now.
Well, you want your feet dry because, you know, obviously if it slips off that brake pedal, you're in trouble.
And these cars aren't sealed up totally. You get a lot of water in these cars. You know, the windshields aren't silicone. You get a lot of water up through these things. So drivers will be getting wet.
Well, we hear that engines have fired. You talked about some standing water. There's some right there, as it looks like. Well, let's talk to our in-race reporter, Rusty, see what he thinks.
Patrick Carpentier, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Just search for puddles. When them tires too hot, they're going to go crazy on you.
Patrick Carpentier, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Okay, 10-4.
Patrick, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
I got you, loud and clear.
Patrick, this is history in the making right now with NASCAR. Not many guys have ever raced in the rain. Maybe a little practice out in Suzuka, Japan. What about this, buddy? What's the big problem going to be when you guys go back to green?
To stop these heavy cars going in the corners, pretty slippery braking zone there, and just to make sure you get in the corner at the right speed. So that's going to be the tough part, and we're going to try to run different grooves because usually it's a lot more grip outside the race line, but it's pretty complicated to do that here.
Patrick, do you think you got your car prepared good enough to race in the rain with the windshield wiper and all the systems you got? Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. You know, I'm comfortable, but I just they asked me, do you want to take the rear bar off? And I said, I don't know. I've never tried one of them things in the rain. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But let me tell you, the fans are going to have a show now.
Okay, buddy. I think we're going to have a show. The whole world's going to have a show watching this race. So be safe out there, and we'll be talking to you.
Thank you.
Hey, it's still raining pretty hard on the back, so we're going to be on these things for a while. 10-4.
All right, so as they continue to talk about, and we're being told by NASCAR that they will hold everybody on pit lane just a little bit longer than the 3 minutes. So obviously NASCAR wants to make sure that the track is raceable and that everybody has everything mounted, especially the windshield wipers and the brake lights. As we are going to take a break, there is, after, well, 8.5, almost 9 laps, we go past the line. We'll get back to green flag racing here, hopefully in the not-too-distant future. Well, while we've got a moment, let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow on ESPN at 1 o'clock when we started off from the Sprint Cup Series action at Pocono. And the race presented, of course, by Cheez-It. On the front row, it'll be Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin. Points leader Kyle Busch is going to be starting back in the 27th position. He's going to have to fight his way to the front. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 1 Eastern. Let's take a look at the Sprint Cup points as we get ready to head into Pocono for tomorrow after 20 of 36 races. And you can see 253 markers. Kyle comfortably in front, but boy, look at that difference at the bottom there from Tony Stewart on down, how close it is. Anybody sneezes, they're going to be passed, as they say, Gesundheit.
And while the teammates of Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick race each other to stay in the top 12, but I got to believe it won't be too long before Harvick gets up there pretty solid and Boyer does too. I really think those guys are strong enough to get up in there.
It's tough. Who's going to drop out? I mean, those top 13 cars are vying for 12 spots, and you know what? 12 plays a whole lot better than 13.
Understand we've got some news involving the 40 car. Our race leader, Scott Pruitt. Mike, what happened down there?
And he may have dodged a pretty big bullet, Marty. These tires, keep in mind, they're directional. They're designed to run the water off to the side of the race car. Well, you can imagine the trouble they would have had if they put the left side tires on the right side of the race car. That's exactly what happened. Crew Chief Brad Parrott caught it in time. They're able to make the change, and Parrott had a pretty good sense of humor about it. I asked him, and he said, well, if anything, we were going to be about 2.5 seconds faster than everybody else, so I guess we helped them.
Well, of course, yesterday we had the issue with the valve stems, and at first it was reported that Mason Jennings, the tire specialist, had been canned, but no, he was just reprimanded. And this one they catch before they go out onto the track, which could have been even more interesting with the tires going the wrong direction.
Well, this one might not have been his fault. This could have been somebody else on that one. Yeah, but if you got the tires on the wrong way, it's just not going to shed the water. You won't have the grip like you normally would have.
And I think Brad's doing the tires himself. That'd be tough to tell him to go back to the truck.
Well, who knows?
It might be drier.
Well, we'll see. All right, let's check in more from pit lane. And what's going on in the 16 camp, Vince?
With Eddie Pardue, the crew chief, a little frustrated, he and his driver, about the fact that it's going on longer than 3 minutes. Greg's getting a little impatient in the car, isn't he?
Yeah, 3M4 Fusion is pretty good, but it's for slick out there now, and these tires need the water to stay cool. So that's what he's concerned about, is getting back out there, getting the water off the track, and not being able to keep the tires cool.
What have you done to try to provide stability to this race car here in these conditions?
Well, you try and get as much grip to the car as you can with the rear bar, hook to rear bar, and the rear shocks, and with a little bit of air pressure. So it's not much you can do. It's going to be slick out there.
You did unhook the rear bar, but you actually ran it that way in practice. So Colin Brown was providing some feedback on how the car was handling. Are you concerned once you go back to the dry tires that the car might not be as stable as you'd need it to be with the bar unhooked?
Well, not really. Like I say, Colin Brown practiced our car, and he tried the bar both ways. So we should be pretty good not running the bar again. So we're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, a lot of mechanical decisions being made down here. Eddie Pardue and his driver, Greg Biffle. Marty?
Yeah, Randy, let's take it a little further. Explain for the fans at home who may not know about the bar.
Well, the rear sway bar, when you hook it up, it helps the car turn through the corners. But when the weather is like this, it's going to help it turn already. So you got to detune the race car a little bit, and that's what they're doing with the rear sway bar, right, Russ?
Yeah, and actually, when you unhook that bar, it's going to give it some more forward grip. It's going to have better grip to your left hand, to your right hand turn. A little too rigid for the rain. The thing you got to be careful with, though, you can't dial this car out, because once it dries up, if they got to come down pit road and undo all that, they're going to lose a lot of valuable track position. So they just need to do a little bit of tuning, not a lot.
All right, so we're waiting for the word from NASCAR that we will be going back to green flag racing, and there you can see the crews putting on the windshield wipers. Oh, this is going to be interesting to see how all this works. The temperature was 77 before, it's 68 now, and great ad for Rain-X as it's being applied to the windscreens as well. Stay with us, we're coming back to a soggy Montreal. The pre-race festivities under some threatening skies, and everybody was clean until the rains came, and then the rain, well, we had Stan Barrett going around twice, did a little damage to the front of the car, but NASCAR then stopped the race under a red flag condition. We have since changed to the rain tires and are getting ready to make history as the jet dryers are out there trying to blow some of the standing water off of the track while we've got the opportunity. And let's check in with the 32 crew chief with Mike Massaro.
And of course, that's Mike Hillman Jr., Marty, and your guy's certainly a fan favorite here. He's no stranger to racing in the rain. What's he telling you?
You know, I think we're just going to go out here and try to survive. I think it's going to dry up here in a little bit. We just need to take care of our stuff and save our brakes and be there with 10 to go in position to win the race.
How much of an advantage, in your assessment, does this give guys like Jacques and the other road course veterans who have been on wet race courses before.
I think it'll give them an advantage. At least they have experience running in the rain. You know, it might give them a disadvantage because they're trying to be safe and the other guys might not be so safe around them.
It's a pretty good point, Vince.
Yeah, and tell you what, you talk about challenges. How about the challenge for this guy right here, Dave Rogers? He is the crew chief for the 20 car. Not only does he have a rookie in Joey Logano, a guy that's started 6-7 races, but this is his first road course, and now you're throwing the rain in on him. What are you telling your driver about the situation he's about to face?
I'm just telling him how cool it is. You know, try to keep everything positive. This is different. It's a new experience for us. We don't know what we're going to have, but you know, he's actually raced a lot of Legends cars in the rain down at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so he's got some rain experience. Well, I don't know. We'll
but you don't.
I don't. Hey, I normally don't do this, but I do want to take this time to wish my son a happy 6-year-old birthday.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. We're all going to all be keeping an eye on the 20 car of Joey Logano. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Vince, I don't know if these are Legends cars or not. Pat Smith will call the shots on Scott Wimmer. Now, when they came in to make the changes, Scott was all excited. He said, hey, this is going to be fun. What about from your standpoint? You disconnected the rear sway bar, and you were working on the front air dam trying to stop things up. What were you trying to do?
Just trying to put a little more, less cooling for the brakes, actually. You know, you have so much cooling here. Don't want to overcool some of that stuff in this situation. You're not going to be using as much brakes, so don't want to cause any problems there. The rear bar, hopefully give them a little more traction without it. This is my first experience of doing it, so you know, I'm going off a lot of the stuff we've learned over the years, and Scott was excited about it. He's excited this morning. I don't know what drives that, but we'll see how he does.
Let's talk for a moment, though, because now all of a sudden there's still the dark clouds and intermittent rain, but what sort of challenges will you face in calling the shots if this thing goes to dry and begins to get bone dry out there with these rain tires on?
Well, fortunately, the Holiday Inn Holiday Express crew did a great job in preparation, you know, and we were prepared for this situation. So as far as switching back and forth, that should not be a problem. And hopefully we'll see the Holiday Inn Chevrolet up front at the end.
I tried to tell Pat what to do, and he said, well, are you a chief mechanic? And I said, no, but I stayed in the Holiday Inn last night.
All right, we're getting word that the cars will be rolling off pit road here in a not too distant future. We've heard the engines fire, and we will be under a yellow course condition. Can tell you that right now we have only one car shown as out of the race, and that is Derek Cope, as he is in the 43rd and final position, as we pointed out a little bit earlier, but now officially listed as out of the event. Everybody else, well, we have 4 or 5 other cars off the track at this particular moment. We'll see what happens when we go back to green flag racing. Okay, we're just getting word of what the procedure is going to be. They're going to roll everybody off pit road, then get them back into position. In other words, the 40 of Pruitt will be your leader. Then there goes Marcus Ambrose, and then they'll bring out Max Pappas. There he is in the 64. So they're going to have to get him back in line the way we were when we went to the red flag.
Yeah, because we looked at the running order here. We had a lot of guys all over the place. It was because the way they were coming down pit road. Now they're getting everybody back in their proper order. Going to run them around and bring them back down pit road, put some gas in these babies, and turn them loose, it sounds like.
Man, let's go. 3 minutes is up. I'm excited. Let's get back to racing.
Took too long, didn't it? All right, well, there you can see that the first 5 cars are in line. So you have Pruitt, Ambrose, Pappas, Carpentier, and Villeneuve. And here comes the rest of the field making their way in line.
And what's going on out there right now? You might have saw the track blowers out there running around, guys, and they're just trying to blow off the big puddles, the big mounts of standing water right now. Because it is still raining, and they're going to probably fill up again pretty quickly, but they're trying to do the best job they can to just have it be a wet surface. But the rain is just, it's not raining much in turn 1 and 2. It seems to be raining mostly down towards turn 10.
Absolutely, and that's something, I mean, they're going to have to be real careful on the backside. Then they get on the front side, and there's some dry spots already on the front stretch here. So, you know, they can be aggressive on some corners and not too aggressive on other ones.
Well, the teams were allowed to top off on fuel, so that puts them, by our calculation, into their window for a 2-stop race. Of course, I have a feeling that with the way the weather is, that may no longer be an issue. We may have more than 2 stops. That is down towards the hairpin. That's the exit. There is some standing water down there. And That's like running on ice, as here come the cars out of pit lane. And here it is a lot less damp than it is on the backside of the track. So this is going to be a juggling act for every one of these drivers.
Well, Marty, turn 10 compared to turn 1 is almost 2 miles apart. So it's a long way down to the other end of the racetrack. And as you alluded to, turn 1 and 2 do look a lot better. But I've got to ask you one question. Do any of you guys think that we're not going to have any cautions at all? You think they all can make it the first lap without somebody spinning? I don't think they will.
No, the under on that is going to be the winner in Las Vegas.
What do you think on these tires that were built, in 2001? They've hardened up a little bit, so they might need to get some heat out.
Well, the one thing about it is that they're all the same, so it should be the same for everybody.
Let's check in with Jaggerud.
Well, guys, Scott Wimmer now pulling out as he's been called out in sequential order. And one of the good things is, keep in mind, because this racetrack was designed to Formula One specifications, at least on pit road, we don't have a lot of the puddles that generally develop in a rain delay. But it was kind of fun, the conversation. We talked to Wimmer's crew chief about, they were totally prepared. Well, Carl Edwards actually helped Scott understand what it's like to drive in the rain. And he explained to him that it may be a little more difficult. Going straight will be fine, but going down through the gears could be a problem. And then Scott radioed back and said, "That's it?" And there was no communications after that.
Well, it's going to be an education for any of these guys that have never raced in the rain. And to think that we're doing it with the weight of these vehicles, over 3,400 pounds and in these conditions. So now as they pull them out onto the track, again, we have stopped to get everybody back into line. Vince, let's get an update on Marcus Ambrose's situation.
It's been interesting is down here on pit lane, it's gone from raining heavy to not raining at all, and right now just maybe a slight sprinkle at most. So Gary Cogswell, the crew chief for the 59 car of Marcus Ambrose, is telling Ambrose that he believes, by looking at the radar, that there's probably going to be another cell or two that comes through, but they might be to the dry tires before then. He's telling Marcus, I'm not going to be surprised if we have to go from the wet tires to the slicks and back to the wets. He said whichever crew is at its best and whichever car is fast under both conditions is the guy that's going to win the race. Very complicated. A lot more complicated even on a technical track than we thought we were going to have today.
Well, and one thing that we have to point out, unlike IndyCar or Formula One, it will be NASCAR who dictates when you go back to change tires from wets to dry slicks. It is not a team decision, so they have to stay on the wet tires until NASCAR calls them in and says, okay, it is now a dry race again, you can go back.
Well, they're going to have to really keep up with this racetrack, because to go back with slicks, the racetrack has to be totally dry.
Yeah, and you got to remember the experience level out there, too. I mean, you got some great road racers in the rain. You got some guys that's never done it before, so NASCAR's got to keep that in mind, and I'm sure they will. I mean, these things are safe. The cars are prepared right, so it's up to the drivers right now not to overdrive these cars.
All right, so everybody is out on the track. They're getting their first look at what this circuit looks like in the wet. And when we come back, it will be time for another page of history to be turned in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. It'll happen in Montreal as we will race in the rain. Back here at a very soggy circuit, Gilles Villeneuve, as it is race number 23 and soon to be a very historic day in NASCAR Nationwide Series, as we are about to see our first ever green flag laps in the rain with rain tires in a NASCAR event.
Marty, half the cars out here don't have windshield wipers on them. Some do, some don't. I mean, I guess if you put the Rain X on there and get enough speed out of these cars, they'll blow right off the window. You look at Max Pappas, he doesn't want to have them. Jacques Villeneuve doesn't have anything on his car. I'm looking back at Carl Edwards. He doesn't have anything.
You couldn't afford a windshield wiper on the 64?
Well, no, I don't know the answer to that. Now,
Does Steven have one?
Well, look at Ron Hornaday. He's got the motor on the car, but doesn't have the windshield wiper blade on it.
The truth of the matter is, if you've driven in the rain or you've been involved in some of these, if you're behind somebody with that big, thick rooster tail, it doesn't matter whether you've got the windshield wiper or not. You're not seeing much of anything. It's like being behind Miss Budweiser.
I would like to have one, though. If I had an option.
That's true. It's a confidence factor. Yeah,
well, I know one thing. When I'm going down the highway in my Yukon, and if it's raining, I like a windshield wiper.
That's for sure. And I think Patrick in a nine car already Stan Barrett, or is that Fuller?
That is Stanton Barrett, it looks like.
Stanton did turn around.
These stunt drivers, these guys are father and son deal.
Well, they're trying it out, Randy. See what the car will take. And I got a feeling we're going to see a lot of this because you can't apply much power at all in the rain conditions. A little bit I got to drive in Suzuka. It was all about racing all line, and you could actually light the car up in the straightaways. I remember we were halfway down the straightaway, and if I gave it too much throttle, the tires would start spinning. And when that happens, you're going to spin these babies right around. So it's all about throttle modulation, stuff like that.
Well, we were eavesdropping on the radio with Carl Edwards. Let's listen in and see what they were talking about.
Holy crap, these things drive really bad in the rain. That's what the 40 just said. Pruitt just said this is ridiculous.
Well, if you got Scott Pruitt saying this is ridiculous, he's the professional driver in the rain. They might be in for some problems.
At 35 miles an hour.
Just wait, we'll see what happens here, guys. This could be pretty interesting.
Well, no official word yet from NASCAR as when we will go back to green flag racing. Let's go back and show you what happened to Stanton Barrett. Everybody's been testing grip. See how much they have out there. And here he comes through turn 14 and whoops. Well, like father, like son, same location.
Yeah, a lot of this is going to be getting heat in the tires too. They got to get some grip, get these old tires warmed up. They're awful old, but they're in great shape. They're new tires. And sometimes when the rubber sits that long, Randy, you know as well as I do from old short track days, they harden up a little bit.
He's going the wrong way. Maybe his wiper's in the back.
Reminds me of Days of Thunder. I'm coming in.
You can see how much water these tires dissipate. I mean, when they go over, there's a trail behind the car. These tires definitely move a lot of water, that's for sure.
Now remember one thing, guys. This is a first for NASCAR. They don't have a lot of experience in this, if much at all. So what they'll do is start this race, probably monitor this and say this is going to work or it's not going to work. They're real smart guys. I'm sure that's what's going to happen.
Well, here's one of the other issues challenging the crews, keeping pit lane dry. Mike Massaro?
That's right, Marty. All new for them as well. And now, while these tires may make this racetrack raceable, pit lane still very slick. That's why you see all these blowers out here in the pit stalls. Also some squeegees. These teams trying to dry out their pit stalls as much as possible. The last thing they want to have happen is come down pit road and slide through the box. That could ruin a very good day.
That could ruin a couple of people's days as you slide not only into crew members but also into the pit next to you. So a very important factor, again, the weight of these cars. And it's interesting that when you get right back down to it, when Scott Pruitt says what he said to Carl Edwards' team, I mean, this is going to be real interesting when we go back to green flag racing.
Marty, looking at our booth right now, it doesn't appear to be raining on the front straightaway or going down to turn 1 or 2, but everything is absolutely soaking wet. And if you look up in the skies from our booth, there is heavy, heavy weather all around us. It's just not raining right here.
Well, as we can show you, there's the sun trying to peek through. We also have some video of Carl. Remember we talked about, Rusty brought up the subject that fog on the inside, which is really one of the biggest challenges that you face. Here is a video that we had with Carl, and guess what? That is the very same type of device that we were talking about with Hans Stuck a couple of years ago at Sebring. It's strapped to the car, and so it won't go too far, and he can clean the inside of the windshield. The fog may be even a bigger issue once we get back to green flag racing.
Rusty, one of the things I noticed, Rusty, these guys are going back and forth. You can notice the left side sway bar in these cars. How when they turn the cars back and forth, how the sway bar picks up and down and really works. And I'm surprised that they don't have them hooked solid here.
Well, you're seeing some of the sway bars moving up and down right now, Randy, because I believe they've unhooked one of the sides, and you can see it more than you probably normally could when it's hooked up. But we were talking earlier about it. They've got to be careful with that, though, because if this thing goes back green, they'll probably want that bar hooked up.
Well, they haven't said NASCAR's going to call them when they can change tires again.
And we have been told that 2 more laps under caution and then history, as we will go green unless something changes in those next 2 laps. Let's check in the Roush Fenway cam, Vince Welch.
Well, it's very interesting when you've got a veteran driver like Greg Biffle or Carl Edwards, and it's a 19-year-old giving them advice. That's Colin Brown that you see. He was actually in the 16 car during practice for this team, and Brown has experience driving on the road course in the rain from his Grand Am days. And so he was actually on the radio giving advice to Biffle and Edwards about what they might be expecting, or what they should maybe expect once they get racing under these wet conditions. Eddie Pardue, the crew chief for the 16 car, by the way, just told me in the drivers meeting the teams were told they could change to the dry or the wet in between those two tires at their own discretion, but they have since been told that NASCAR will now make that call. Greg Biffle, the 16 car, growing frustrated that they're not back to racing. Mike?
And Vince, it's that very point that has really irritated, it would seem. Frank Stoddard, the crew chief for Boris, said just had an animated discussion with NASCAR. What was discussed?
Well, first of all, I got to have some no fear to calm myself down, Mike. Well, I'm disappointed. You know, I asked specifically after the drivers' meeting, you know, whether after we put the rain tires on initially, whether it was going to be up to the teams to decide when to take them off or whether they were going to decide it. And he said no, it was up to the teams after that. So, you know, based on my changes right there, I made changes based on that. I would have made more or different changes had I known that they're going to decide it all day. I mean, and I just want to race. I mean, coming in and pitting every 10 laps when they decide to tell you when to put the tires on and stuff, I mean, that's not going to make for a great race. Let's have some excitement here. If somebody goes off, if it's me that goes off, okay, so be it, right? But let's add the strategy and the drama to it. That's what we all come to see, you know? And me being hand-tied right here, hog-tied, right, not a lot of fun.
As you can see, Marty, the emotions starting to escalate.
And I think it's going to get even hotter as the day continues, especially as this is a territory that a lot of people have never explored in NASCAR. There is your running order, and the laps are counting. We're getting ready to go green.
X Games 14 continues with the Supermoto final today at 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN 2. Jeff Ward and Mark Burkhardt have dominated this event in recent years, winning the last 2 gold and silver medals. Now, newcomers like 2006 Grand Prix World Champion Nikki Hayden join the fray.
You know, our sport is, you know, we do speeds over 200 mile an hour, and that's what I like. I like going fast on a motorcycle.
Join us at the Home Depot Center for what is sure to be an exciting race.
And of course, we may have some excitement that'll match the X Games right here as we are getting ready to go back to green flag racing for the first time ever in NASCAR history. One of the top 3 series will race on rain tires on a wet racetrack. Katie, bar the door and hold your breath.
So I say, do not leave your television. Stay right here. Grab you a cold drink and get ready, right, Randy?
This is going to be better than the X Games right here. Race cars in the water, first time ever.
In racing conditions.
Correct.
Qualified at Suzuka.
That's right. Been there,
never
done
raced
that.
there.
That's
So
right.
we've done that part. But
we're working our way back down the back section of the race course. This is where the rain was heaviest, and it looks like it has even slowed down on that section of the course, although it still looks ominous off to the northwest.
You know, if you had a race in the rain, Marty, I think these are like the perfect conditions. It's very light. The track's all wet. It's not pouring. Drivers can see pretty good. This could be a good indication of how good these nationwide cars will work in this rain. And this is a great practice session for all of NASCAR right now, whether it's the new car tomorrow they've got up in Pocono, or whether it's this car. We'll find out how this works out.
See the 38 of Jason Leffler there. He had his nose stubbed a little bit early in the race when we were running under green flag conditions. I didn't actually see how it happened, but it was when we were early in the event. He was working his way up through the field, but that's really only the body damage that we've seen so far. But I'm afraid we may see a little more.
I kind of wonder if things like, and I'm not real experienced at this, so I've got to question myself a little bit saying this, with the water hitting those brake rotors, they get cherry red. You get a brake rotor that's really red, then you hit a lot of water. I mean, it could just snap like a piece of china. So it'd be interesting to see how the calipers and the rotors take this. I'm sure the guys that have done this before say, hey, idiot, it's going to be fine. But I don't know.
Well, they're all the way down to the far end of the racetrack, down to the hairpin, turn 10. And we are still being told, I think, that we are going to go green this next time by.
Turn 1 and 2 should be the corner to watch.
And as we have said, well, And now we're just being told that we will not go green this time by. So as we get ready to make history, it's delayed just at least one more lap. Gives us a chance to talk a little bit about the top 10. We talked about Scott Pruitt. Of course, he finished 5th in the Grand Am race yesterday. And right behind him, Marcus Ambrose, who, you know, you talked to a little bit while back on the driver to driver.
Yeah, Marcus is very, very confident in what he's doing right now. He considers this a huge opportunity, and we call him a road race ringer, even though he's, you know, runs mostly the NASCAR Nationwide Series right now, and a couple races in the Sprint Cup Series with his new boss, Brad Doherty, for next year.
Absolutely. I mean, he came from, he ran 12 years in road course race, so he's right on it. He knows how to get this done.
In 3rd place, you're looking at Mad Max Pappas. He got his nickname back in the 90s when his very first trip to the 24 hours at Daytona. He was running qualifying laps in the Ferrari trying to track down the eventual race winner. Didn't get it done, but impressed everybody that day. And then in 4th is the 9 car of Patrick Carpentier, one of the hometown favorites.
Yeah, he's got hometown favorite people on his side. If the crowd's got anything to do with it, he can win this race today. And he knows how to race in the rain. Champ cars, he's really everything. These guys that we just talked about feel very confident in the rain.
Talk about somebody who has experience in the 32 car in the rain, the former Formula One world champion and Indy 500 winner, Jacques Villeneuve.
You know, if there's anybody in the field, you win a Formula One title, you've raced in the rain before, that's for sure.
And then the man they call the other Canadian, because there is a rivalry within the provinces, the 2 Quebecers against everybody else. And there's Ron Fellows, as he's from Ontario in the Windsor-Toronto area, as he is in the 6th spot. And then right behind him is Boris Said in the Ford, the 25.
I haven't seen many Said heads up here. Anybody seen his cheering section? They must be getting ready for the Glen next week.
I used to have a haircut like that a long time ago.
I've seen that.
And behind him is one of the guys who finished 8th last year here at this event, Brad Coleman in the 27 car. And it'll be interesting to see how he handles the rain. Of course, he and Colin Brown finished 7th in 05 at the Rolex 24 as they teamed up. Back up a little bit further, and there is Ron Hornaday, and I don't care what conditions you give him. I'd like to watch him drive anything, any day.
Especially on the restart. I mean, I missed the restart right here. This is going to be really interesting.
And then as we get to Joey Logano, we eavesdropped on his radio, and this is what we picked up.
Hey, I always leave my cell phone in the truck, but for some reason I brought it out today, and we got some pretty good people back in the shop text messaging me hints. One hint I just got from someone I really trust who's done this before is add as much rear brake as you possibly can.
All right, so there is the tip that they got. And, of course, behind Logano is Greg Biffle, Jason Leffler, Carl Edwards. Let's check in with the Goodyear side of this story and Mike Massaro.
Hey, Marty, it's been an interesting couple of weeks for Goodyear, to say the least. Chad Fletcher, coordinating manager for Goodyear. How hard can these drivers push these tires, and how much rain can they take?
The tire is built as a full wet compound, so it's something similar to what you've seen us run in the past. We've got a lot of history on this type of compound and type of tread pattern from our sports car side. Something very similar to what you've seen in the Corvette Challenge, things like that on very heavy stock cars and very heavy sports cars. So the compound and construction, tread design, everything are built for this type of purpose. They can pretty much run full out as much as they can handle. They can run construction-wise as much for a full stop. So we're expecting them to go for a full fuel window. If they need to do that, the tires should be able to hold up to that, no problems at all.
Well, Marty, as long as it stays wet, Goodyear may have a lot of work to do. They're still mounting tires.
We'll see what happens, as we are being told that we could be going green this next time by, as they're at the far end of the racetrack at the hairpin, turn 10.
Marty, one thing you got to remember, these things got a lot of horsepower. These cars have no traction control whatsoever. So the traction control, Randy, is the driver's foot. Can't give it too much throttle. The more throttle you give, it'll spin the tires right off underneath it. So it's all about modulating the gas right now.
And you get taught that from day one. When you drive race cars, whatever division you're in, it's all throttle controlled. You got to put an egg on that gas pedal. Feel like there's an egg underneath the gas pedal, and just roll into it nice and easy without breaking that egg. Otherwise, You hit that, you'll squeeze it too hard and you'll be scrambled eggs.
Take a look at the Dodge pace car. The lights are off. If you follow our series, you know what that means. The crowd understands as they are coming to their feet. They know that history is about to be made in the NASCAR Nationwide Series as they are heading down towards turn 13 and 14, and then onto the front straightaway and the
buddy, I'm
treacherous
telling you
turn
what,
1.
I'm in this booth and I'm putting my crash helmet on right now. I'm pulling my belts down because this is going to get wicked out there. There's no doubt about that.
All right, folks, this is a moment that will live for a long time. You only get to write history one page at a time. As they say in Canada, it is time to all skate. We're going green.
4 back.
Ambrose is looking inside. And he's got the position.
You know he wants those 5 points for leading the lap.
And you can see how easy they're going around the racetrack right now. These drivers need to find out how much these tires will take in these wet conditions.
Everybody tiptoeing. Ambrose in front of Scott Pruitt.
This next time by, we'll be able to see how much slower these cars really are. You see them kicking their rear end out just a little bit. The drivers know they can get wheel spin anytime they want it.
Heading down towards turn 6 and 7. This was treacherous in the dry. What's it going to be like in the wet?
It's a really tight corner. A lot of guys ended up in the grass right off to your left right there in practice. In fact, they're all getting through there right now. But look how slow they're going at the moment, guys. Just really tiptoeing through there.
Ron Fellows got around the 32 of Jacques Villeneuve. Take a look. Here comes the 33 of Ron Hornaday. Hornaday ahead of Leffler and Joey Logano, and Leffler has come right back. Battle back up front. There you see Carpentier.
Experienced guys. Ron Fellows right behind him, but they're all chasing the Tasmanian Devil.
And he is opening up some distance. Remember, he won 2 championships down in Australia in the V8 Supercar Series. There comes Jacques Villeneuve as he is trying to get around Fellows, and does. So he retakes the position, and listen to the Quebecers. They love it.
Well, you see the rear cars just lighting the tires up right. You see Max Pappas looking on the inside as Scott Pruitt right now. And the view, I'm sure that these drivers are seeing, it's just nothing but fog and rain. Look how hard it is to see out there right now, guys.
When you get a look at the windshield wiper on the 59, it's lifting off of the windscreen under braking. When he was into the braking, take a look there as the 64 is trying to make a move. Max Pappas on the 40 of Scott Pruitt. Can't get it done.
Well, we see a couple of them miss the course actually right there. They're going to have to come to a stop or come down pit road. NASCAR will mandate that.
The first 7 cars, they all had to come to a dead stop.
We'll have to wait to see if they actually made the stop. And it looks like Pruitt has also gone off course down into turn number 1.
If you get in a little too deep, guys, you get sideways. The only thing you can do is just drive the car straight. And it's not raining right now, so this track should start drying out a little bit. And the speeds that get faster and faster. They qualified at a 102 second bracket. Right now they're 133, so almost 30 seconds off the pace right now.
And I'm sure driving that car right in there, it feels like 2 days different.
Yeah, they're exactly 30 seconds slower than what they qualified, so we'll see these speeds pick up as it goes on.
A lot of wheel spin there. As you see, that's Carl Edwards in front of about a 4-car freight train. Greg Biffle.
See some left front fender damage on the 10 car, looks like. It's tore up pretty good already.
Word from NASCAR is everybody did come to the stop that needed to. You saw Pruitt give up the position to the 64, so no penalties will be imposed. Racing continues. That's Scott Wimmer. Meanwhile, look at Marcus Ambrose. 27 victories he had in his 2 championship seasons down in Australia.
Marty, take a look how these drivers are driving offline. You saw Max Pappas come into turn 10 real high. See Jacques Villeneuve, Ron Fellows doing the same thing on entry. really tiptoeing along. They're not right on the bottom of the racetrack. They're trying to run these cars out of the normal racing groove to get better grip.
I'm sure they're just searching because they have no clue what's going to happen. So, okay, we've seen IndyCar guys, we've seen Formula One guys. They say these tires need water. So let's try it in the water. Let's try it out of the water and see which one is better.
All right, let's go back a moment ago when Scott Pruitt took it off going down into turn number 1.
He just started to lose the back of the car and held on to it and drove it straight, Marty. That was the proper thing to do rather than spin the car. He's got to be careful coming on right here.
And then he allowed the 64 to go on by. Here's what happened to Mike Wallace. Same area. I'm good. I'm good. Take a look at the battle for 4th place. Couple of Canadians going after each other. And listen to the fans from Quebec.
It's just amazing how slow they look like they're going, and they're still beating and banging fenders. They're rubbing against each other. Just no grip out there, but these guys are doing a fantastic job under these conditions.
We're working lap 16 of 74 in a historic day for NASCAR. That is the battle for 5th. The Quebec fans cheering for the 32 of Jacques Villeneuve, and the rest of Canada is cheering for the 5 of Ron Fellows.
Absolutely.
Tell you what, Marcus Ambrose and Max Pappas, they are gone. I talked to Pappas at dinner last night, and he said, man, I said, what are you going to do if it rains? He said, hey, bring it on. I love it. I feel like that's an opportunity for me. I've raced in the rain a lot, and I understand it. So see how that works out. I think that a lot of these drivers that race in the rain regularly see this as an opportunity.
Well, the big question coming up next will be what happens when the race leaders catch up to the slower cars.
It'll be a while. It'll be, it'll be probably about 10 laps, I do believe.
You see how wet the track still is, guys. A lot of water coming off the rocker panels, although they have run 1 second faster that last time by. 132 flat for Ambrose. Still, that's about 29 seconds slower than what they qualified.
If we would have did an over-under, I think we both would have, all of us would have been off because we would have thought there would have been a caution already.
And these two have been going back at it lap after lap. Fellows and Jacques Villeneuve, they just can't, nobody can pull away.
And we get word Clint Boyer has gone off course, so he gets it back under control. Looks like no heavy damage, although there looks like to be some mud up underneath. But he has survived.
He's a series point leader. And you know those guys are telling him in the ear, don't do that.
Boyer right now running in the 18th position.
Well, guys, one thing you do know for sure, the fuel mileage is going to be much better right now. They're not in the gas much at all. So look at Boyer, held it straight, bounced through there, dug the track up a little bit, little mud.
I mean, Rusty, you did that in the pace car, didn't you? I was riding with you.
Well, a little bit, but nothing like that.
Here comes the battle for 5th again. Fellows, Jacques Villeneuve. Villeneuve in front right now. Fellows keeps it clean. Could have taken him out there, doesn't do it.
You know, one thing, I'm looking at all the brake rotors in the cars, and there is no red nowhere. They're
not even pink.
There's no heat right now to them, and it's great for the brakes. Because these things were on fire before the rain happened. I mean, we're only 4 laps in the race. These brake rotors were solid red. Mike, what do you got in the 32?
And just moments ago, Mike Hillman Jr., the crew chief for Jacques Villeneuve, coming over the radio, trying to coach him a little bit, telling him to be conservative, reminding him it's still a very long race. As we mentioned throughout the course of this show, you need to conserve your equipment, especially the brakes, and Hillman is very concerned about that right now.
Well, it'll be interesting to see as they have now closed up a little bit on Patrick Carpentier. So that is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Or I should say 4th, 5th, and 6th. Let me correct that.
Last year at the end of the race in technical expression, I went down and I looked at a lot of the guys' brakes. The top 5 guys, they had a lot of brakes left. So I think that they're a little bit overconscious about saving their equipment.
Tell you what, though, the speeds have not picked up much at all, guys. We talked about the track drying out. They're still running 132 and 133 second flat laps, and not fast at all.
Well, while all this continues, the battle has sort of slowed. Meanwhile, up front, Marcus Ambrose has pulled out to a 4.3 second lead over Max Pappas. Does Ambrose get sweet revenge for what happened last year at Montreal?
Back at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, where the NASCAR Nationwide Series is in lap 19 of 74, and that car, the 59 of Marcus Ambrose, is the runaway leader at this point. And I'm with his crew chief, Gary Cogswell, and what's interesting is that during that yellow after the red, Marcus just kept talking about how he had no grip on those rain tires. What happened?
Well, I don't know. We really didn't think our setup was really going to be very good in the rain on wet pavement. But, you know, we were really happy with it on the dry. We opted to not change it a lot for the wet weather, and it's surprisingly good compared to what our expectations were. You know, the track's going to dry out again. We'll probably run dry. It might rain again. We'll probably run wet. It's kind of like a big mystery here. Somebody's going to guess right and they're going to win the race. I just hope it's me. But anyway, hey, I got a couple of kids at home having birthdays today. Want to make sure I say hi to you, Zach and Steven. See you tomorrow.
There you go, Marty, or Mike. Yeah, Marty.
Hey, it's one of us. Don't worry about it. And if Dad wins, kids, there'll be a big birthday party. Take a look as Marcus continues to lead by 4.3 seconds. And we talked to him about road racing. He says, nah, there's no real secret to it.
There's no secret to road racing. Anyone will tell you it's about compromise. You give up a little bit of high-speed corner to make your slow speed better. It's about giving up a bit of traction to make your brakes better. So really, just an all-round compromise.
And of course, last year he led 37 of what ended up being a 75-lap event, and it was leading with 3 to go when, of course, we had the infamous Robbie Gordon incident that took both of them basically to the barn.
Tell you what, that track is drying up pretty good right now, guys.
One of the cars that has been on the move, Stephen Wallace. We're going to try and find him out on the racetrack right now because he has moved up 25 spots from the start of the race and has been, there he is, coming through turns 13. He's got Jason Leffler right in front of him. And a few laps ago, these guys were beating and banging on each other and having a good old time of it. In fact, let's go back and take you to the view. Here's what happened.
See Steven trying to stop the car. Look at the rear wheels completely stopped, using Jason Leffler as something to stop. And Leffler did a pretty good job not, you know, hitting the back with anger. But now they're racing off that corner. Steven saying, go ahead, I'm sorry, waving his hand. Look at that. Get your hand back in the wheel, boy.
Yeah, stop waving, drive.
He's worried about getting Leffler mad at him, you know. But now he's passed him back again. They're going at it again.
Take a look.
I wonder if Leffler's brake light wasn't bright enough. That's why he running the backup.
Well, I don't think so. I think these guys are just all trying their guts out to do what they can. There is some good give and take going on out there.
Stevens now up 26 and Boyer up 11 spots. Let's get more from Mike Massaro.
Hey, Marty, I was just happened to be on the pit box with Harold Holly, his crew chief, when all that happened in the chicane. And, you know, certainly they were a little bit concerned, but I spoke with Harold about that, and he said, you know what? He's going to be able to rebound. He showed me his speeds and said he's every bit as fast as everybody up front. We definitely have a top 10 car, so the hope's still very high in the 66 camp.
Well, the lap times are starting to get a little bit better at the lead, down to 126 seconds now for Marcus Ambrose. That's just a little over 2 minutes 6 seconds. Uh-oh, car slowing on the track in the back there, didn't catch the number.
I think that might have been Justin Marks in the 10 car.
Take a look at Scott Wimmer come up on the inside there. Justin Marks got some damage on the left side. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it back to the pit here or not, guys. He's going awful slow.
Well, no full course caution yet waved by NASCAR as he is well out of the race line, but you're right, there is heavy damage on the left front of the number 10 of Justin Marks. Take a look a little bit further back up in the field. The battle continues with Jacques Villeneuve in front of Ron Fellows. That's a battle for 5th. Of course, when you're on the road course, your feet are busy, your hands are busy, shifting gears. Jack?
Yeah, Marty, we talk about doing the OJT, the on-the-job training here and learning what to do. Guys like Scott Wimmer, Brad Keselowski, what they're doing and what they've been experimenting with is changing their shifting pattern. So a 3rd gear turn now has become a 4th gear turn. A 2nd gear turn has become a 3rd gear turn. Caution is out, and so far, it's worked for some of these drivers.
Well, and that's because of Justin Marks. He cannot make it back. In fact, now he's totally off course, down at the hairpin at the far end. So they'll have to send a wrecker out and pull Justin in.
Arnie, Jack was telling us about the different gear ratios now. It's almost like giving yourself your own traction control. You know, you got a lot more power to spin your rear tires in second gear and you do third gear. So it looks like these guys are lugging the engines a little bit to keep the tire spin to a minimum. Kind of like driving in snow.
So the big loser in all this is Marcus Ambrose. He had a 4.8 second lead that just evaporated because of the full course caution. You see the 7 of Mike Wallace. You say, wait a minute, why is he back there? He was running much further up. Mike had a drive-through penalty. He was running 25th at the time. So he was assessed the penalty for cutting a corner and not coming to a complete stop. Looks like the 52 will be the car that ends up getting the lucky dog. Be Scott Gaylord as he makes his way around, so he'll get back on the lead lap.
It really looks like turn 1 and 2 is drying up quite nicely. I don't see any rain out there right now, and the lap times picked up almost 10 seconds a little while ago. So Randy, it's drying out quite a bit for these guys, but it's still really wet all through the S's, down into turn 6 and 7, down through 8 and 9. But everywhere else is looking a lot better.
Yeah, the first 1, 2, 3 turns are looking really good, but after that, it's still plenty wet. And I think these tires, this is a work in progress. And Goodyear's going to want to look at these tires and see the wear on them, as the crew chiefs are. And I think we'll be in good shape.
Guys, I think we should send out some congratulations to all the drivers. I fully expected to see a lot more cars going off into the Tules. And like I said, an all-skate session instead of what we ended up seeing. I mean, they've done well.
I totally agree with you. I'm the one that said they're going to have a caution right in the first corner. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Minded their P's and Q's. They did a good job, kept these things on course. And hey, it's been a pretty good race in the rain right now.
And you got to remember, we're working lap 22 of 74. If we are lucky enough to go back to dry, then they have done exactly what they needed to do. Kept their cars clean and get into position to compete again.
These guys are definitely professionals. And, you know, last time us three were in the booth, they had, the guy who led the most laps was the pace car driver.
You're referring to Memphis last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 24 hours of Memphis.
You know, when you go on the backside of this racetrack, guys, there's trees on the right, trees on the left. It's very narrow. And it looks like they can't even hardly get much wind through that area to help dry this course. I believe that's the big reason it's so much wetter there, Marty, than it is everywhere else.
Just got word from NASCAR. No slicks as of now. If you come to pit lane, you must stay on the rain tires. So we'll find out what happens and who will be the takers and who will be those that stay out. Remember, we had the red flag situation and then 3 caution laps.
I'm not sure I would want slicks out there. I mean, there's still a lot of water on this racetrack.
These cars can run about 30 laps on fuel. They
and they've run.
Yeah, they put fuel in at lap 10, I believe.
Right. So they've run about 12 laps under green flag conditions. So you're right. I mean, there's still an opportunity. But what's left on the tread? If it's drying out on the track, you know, you may have to bring them in and put a fresh set of rain tires on. And the word we're hearing from pit lane is some cars are ready with a second set, but the others are not.
Very good. You're still mounting rain tires like crazy down there, and I'm sure whatever happened, NASCAR do it equal for everybody.
And we should explain what happens to these wet tires when it does dry out, because they do chew up faster.
Absolutely. We heard the compound is a lot softer for rain tires than a regular slick because they need a little bit of grip. But once the track gets warm, it just tears these things up. You think these things were back in Indy last week.
Yeah, this will let them cool off a little bit. I don't know if it's going to give them any more life or not, but cool them down a little bit. These tires are pretty soft, and if they're soft, well, actually, does the rubber just actually peel off the top layer of the tire? It almost looks like a shredder just pulling the rubber off. Nothing like last week in Indianapolis, might I add, but it'll kind of rough up the top of the tire.
All right, let's reset it for you right now before they head for pit lane. It's Ambrose, Pappas, Pruitt, Carpentier, Villeneuve. That's your top 5, followed by Fellows, Andrew Ranger. That's right, Ranger is shown right now in the 7th position. And that is a big move for him. He won the race earlier today here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Carl Edwards up to 8th, Greg Biffle 9th, Boris Said in 10th.
Well, every name you just mentioned to me makes sense how they're running. I'll tell you one guy that we haven't talked a lot about is Andrew Ranger. New name we don't hear about, but boy, I watched him today. This guy's flying around this racetrack in this race they had this morning, the NASCAR Canadian Tour.
Well, and the one guy that does sort of surprise me is Carl Edwards. He's up into the 8th spot, not known as a road course racer, but doing extremely well. And right now, doing exactly what he said to us in the pre-race show. Wanted to take advantage, hopefully, and pick up a lot of points on both Clint Boyer and Brad Keselowski.
Exactly right. And his teammate, Greg Biffle's right behind him. And one thing you guys do need to remember, Jack Roush is one of the smartest guys in the rain. I've seen Roush make some great calls. 24 Hours of Daytona, stuff like that. Understands that rain.
So far, none of the lead cars is coming in except the 5 car. And that is Ron Fellows. So he is the only one in the top 10 to come down pit lane. There comes the 33 of Ron Hornaday as well. Hornaday was 12th on the racetrack. So they're going to give up some track position. We'll find out how that affects them when we come back. Don't forget to tune into ESPN 2 tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for NASCAR Now. And then it's the Sprint Cup Series at Pocono tomorrow at 1 Eastern. That's over on ESPN. Then NASCAR Now returns to wrap up the weekend events, 10 Eastern, and Monday at 5 o'clock right here on ESPN 2. As we continue under our caution here, our third of the day, a couple of cars did take advantage and pit. Let's take a look at our Holiday Inn race summary so far, as it is our first race in history in the NASCAR Nationwide Series to run on rain tires. And let's talk a little bit, as we've had 2 leaders in this event so far, 1 lead change, and we still have 30 cars on the lead lap. 8 laps under caution. Now, we had 3 cars that came in during this caution. Let's check with Jack Arute on the 29 of Scott Wimmer.
And when they came in, they changed all 4 of the Goodyear tires. And, of course, everybody wanted to go over here and take a look at them. Let's take a look. You can see they're not too bad, guys. In fact, they radioed right away to their teammate Clint Boyer that the tires looked excellent. But it is important to be able to put new rain tires on when you get an opportunity. And why did Scott Wimmer come in? Well, because he saw some of the front runners pit early, Marty.
Well, only 3 cars came in, and at first, I got to be honest, I thought it was going to be a bad move, because if it dried out, NASCAR calls them all in, mandates a change to slicks, those guys lose track position. Now we have rain here on the front straightaway as we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. They may end up being geniuses.
You know what? That's one thing I never did in my career. These guys are coming back to green.
Going green, going green. Green flag, go when you can, switch when you see.
Boy, Marcus is good on the restarts. Pappas right there with him, though.
Might have been too good in turn 1 right there.
You see those cars still moving around a lot, so it's plenty wet out there. Like you said, Marty, it's raining in the front straightaway again right now. Umbrellas are out. Really happy to see how good those tires look. They weren't tore up at all. They looked almost brand new, those rain tires did. So there is enough wetness out there to keep them cool.
Action further back. You can see that looked like Hornaday getting around the 11. Yes, he did, as he picks up a spot. Remember, he has fresher tires, a full load of fuel. And take a look at Marcus Ambrose picking up right where he left off, and that is pulling away from the field.
Yeah, he's got a lot of confidence. His car feels real good, and you know, it's all about having rhythm, throttle control, like I talked earlier. And boy, Marcus is he's just loving this rain right now. I didn't know he was that good a driver in the rain, but he's showing us today.
You know, last year here, he just totally impressed me with his ability. And then once you go back and look up what he's done in his career, he's just phenomenal on road courses. That's his forte. And you know, I mean, he's just hoping that his crew chief's making the right calls. These guys that pitted, the crew chiefs made the call, and they're like, okay, are we right or are we wrong? Who knows?
Or said in front of Greg Biffle there and Joey Logano. Logano getting a real education here in his first ever rain race, in his first ever road course race in the NASCAR Nationwide Series.
Well, he's showing a lot of patience, Marty. He's doing a great job out there, Logano is, and he's a smart kid. We know that by how he's run this year for Joe Gibbs Racing, and holding a pretty wheel, I call it. Not being too aggressive at all.
Logano in 10th right now, and you can see the action a little bit further back as, boy, the 33 is on the move. You see Hornaday already working his way back up through the field. Remember, he was one of the 3 cars that did stop.
Look at 27 car. Brad Coleman's got a lot of damage on the left front fender. Must have got into somebody somewhere. Hey, look at Clint Boyer back there, right behind Stephen Wallace. He's really come through this field quite a bit, up to 13th position right now. That's our points leader.
And has never seen this track before qualifying today.
I wonder if they have this in video games in the rain.
Why don't you go down and ask him right now?
Yeah.
See what the answer would be.
Ready to win. Did you practice this on your computer game?
Well, there's Steven in the 66 as he had a little excursion with Leffler earlier, and there's Leffler right in front of him. Now let's take a look at the battle for third, as it is getting very interesting. There is Scott Pruitt right in front of Patrick Carpentier, and then Jacques Villeneuve and Andrew Ranger.
You talk about how much better these guys got. It's still raining out there, and the track is awful wet still. But they went to green when we started this race at a minute 33. They're down to 1:26 second laps right now, so picked up a lot of confidence out there, almost 7 seconds faster, and the track's still wet.
Boy, how about this run by Andrew Ranger? Last car in your shot right there, the 22. Wins the race earlier today in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series. And as you can see, the rain's starting to come down even a little bit harder. And right now, he is doing exceptionally well as he has put this car into 6th place, guys.
A lot of talent. I've never heard of the guy in my life. He's gave me a big education today. This PR guy come up to us earlier and tell us a little bit about him, and a lot of experience in Champ Cars evidently when Champ Cars ran, and got some experience there.
Well, you see the race leader pulling off in the distance there on the left side of your screen. We're trying to check in on the number 5 of Ron Fellows. Now remember, he was one of those cars that pitted. There he goes. Fellows right now in 18th position, but he has laps in hand and fresher rain tires. Mike, what's the strategy unfolding for them?
Well, we're going to lean in and try to find out with Cam Strader. Cam, you were one of the few takers on pit road. Why make that call?
Well, with the rain out right now, we're getting such better fuel mileage, and that put us in our window for their next pit stop. We were also having some radio issues, and that gave us a chance to fix that problem. I think hopefully if the rain keeps up, that'll be the right call, so we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, Marty, as we witness that pit stop, you'll notice they stayed a little bit longer. They wanted to make sure they packed that fuel cell as full as it could be.
I think Cam is dead right. If it continues to rain, those cars that pitted, it's going to be a big benefit for them when everybody else has to come in. They've got about 12 laps in hand over everybody else.
There's been a lot of guys that have won races due to the crew chief's call, that's for sure. And it sure does make the driver's job easier when they make the right calls. And at the end of the race, you're like, what position are we in? And Navy car is getting ready to eat them up.
You know, Cam's exactly right. They are getting a lot better fuel mileage because the cars are running almost 22 seconds slower around the racetrack. And look how hard it's raining, guys. You can actually see the rain in our cameras coming down pretty hard right now.
Yeah, Fellows just got around Clint Boyer, so that was for position. Move Fellows up to 15th, Boyer back to 16th. And he is right behind Ron Hornaday, another of the cars that did make a pit stop during our last caution. And he gets around Hornaday easily. So the 5 making it look very easy here as the rain comes down even harder. That's Stephen Wallace in the 5-hour energy, the Great Clips Toyota. Then Boris said, and there is the number 5, man on a mission.
Tell you what, these guys make me nervous just watching because I'm like, man, they pick the throttle up just a little too much and they get them sideways and then they get past and they've got to just drive like there's an egg under the throttle. And these two right here, Stephen Wallace and Jason Leffler, they're like magnets. They can't get away from each other.
It's like they've been joined at the hip.
I think I just say, just somebody go ahead. Somebody pass somebody here.
They need to go north-south magnets and get away from each other.
And there goes Fellows taking a look underneath and gets around the 24. So Simo gets passed by Fellows, and now he's got to figure out how to get around the two guys that can't seem to get away from each other.
Okay, this is where the crew chief's got to get involved and say, calm down, guys. It's a lot of laps to go yet.
Last time they did this down the main straightaway, they both had to come to a stop because they both missed turn 14.
Well, it could happen again. Let's see what happens here.
Tell when they hit on hard on the brakes, the front end just oh, and look at Leffler, he's loose. They gonna make it? Barely.
I tell you what.
Look at Simo and Clint Boyer back there.
Brad Keselowski back there with Scott Wimmer sliding around too.
Well, and Keselowski knows that's Boyer, the points leader, right in front of him. He says, man, I got to get around him. I got to score some points.
Now remember, turn 13 and 14, that is a real tight corner. The cars were going at that corner to 165 miles per hour.
You know what? If I was a crew chief right now for the 66 or the 30, I would say, hey, follow that 5 car, tire track him, learn from him. That's for sure.
Well, he managed to get around Loeffler, and now he's making quick work of Stephen Wallace.
Yeah, and this is a great guy to follow for a youngster like Stephen Wallace. Oh, don't hit him. Don't hit him.
That was close. You already see the nose damage on the front of the 66. That was earlier with Jason Loeffler. And look at the rain on the backside of this racetrack, still pouring.
And you know, Marty, when you drive a certain speed, when the tracks start driving out, you run a certain way. But when it gets wetter, these guys got to tell themselves, slow down. I can't keep doing what I've been doing. And that's hard for these guys.
Well, it looks like it has settled down for a moment, at least in that part of the racetrack, as Ron Fellows has moved ahead of those two guys, and Fellows now up to 11th. Meanwhile, Marcus Ambrose in front of Pappas by 4 seconds. Can you say deja vu all over again? Let's flash back to Mexico earlier in the year. That's the 59 of Marcus Ambrose getting into Boris Said, and Boris did not take kindly to it because he felt like Marcus didn't give him any chance there. He just kept plowing on through and drove right over him. And after it was all said and done, the words were exchanged. You could see how furious Boris was. In our pre-race show, just in case you weren't with us, he said, "Oh, that's in the past, but I'm not going to send him a Christmas card." Well, he's going to have to get airmail to get it to him, because Marcus Ambrose has checked out on this field by 8 seconds over Max Pappas, and Boris Said is 23 seconds behind in 7th.
Yeah, Marcus Ambrose is giving these guys a whooping. There's no doubt about that. He knows how to drive in this rain, and like I said earlier, I had no idea that, guys, he was just good on this track under these conditions. I mean, man.
His team's going to want to run the rain every week.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let it rain, man. Let's go for it.
Let's take a look at the 29 of Scott Wimmer. He's currently running in 16th, and Jason Loeffler has dropped back to the 17th position. He had a few issues a couple of laps ago while we were in break. Let's go back and show you what happened to Jason and the Great Clips Toyota.
He's already missed a turn, but he says, I'm coming back.
And he comes back right in the line there, but Hornaday and Boyer were both able to get around him, and so has Scott Wimmer, and now Brad Keselowski gets around him. So Loeffler is starting to go back, and here we go with a battle for 3rd on the racetrack as Jacques Villeneuve is closing on Scott Pruitt, our pole sitter.
These guys all know their limits right now, guys. They can tell. They know exactly how far to take these cars. Seems to wiggle around just a little bit, but that's a pretty gutsy move right there.
Listen to the crowd. They'll be cheering for Villeneuve going into 1. They may be wet, but they are happy, standing in the turn 1 and 2 section as their man has just taken over the position and moved into 3rd.
Guys, one thing I've noticed, we just had a shot of the 32 car, the sway bar. He has unhooked the sway bars in the front and the back of the car. Pappas is off course now.
Pappas is off into the barrier. And a full course caution has come out here as we are working lap 30 of 74. Pappas was running 2nd.
And he is stuck in the mud right now. Can't get out of that grass. He's pinned against that wall.
You can see the tire marks right here at the lower of the screen, just right in.
Yeah, just slid right off. And the problem is he's going to get pulled out. He'll go a lap down because of that.
So Max, who started 2nd last year, started 2nd this year, is up against the tire barrier here on lap 30, bringing out our 3rd caution.
You know he's just sitting in that car right now, just beating his head on the wall.
And for the 2nd time in a row, the 52 of Scott Gaylord is getting the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. He's having a bonus day. He gets it twice.
And if Pappas can get pulled out of that mud, that's what he's got to hope for, is a lucky dog to get himself back on track right now. I know he's just got to be killing himself by what happened. Really upset.
Just push me, boys. Come on,
just give me a push, guys. Push me. That's what he's probably saying.
That guy brings him a lunch. That was nice of him.
Still trying to figure out if he can get that car fired.
The guys are just standing away from the car. I saw the car run a little while ago. You'd have thought that he asked them just to push him a little bit, but nothing's happening there.
You can see his arm up in the back window. He's like, come on, guys, just give me a push.
Yeah, pretty mysterious. I don't know what's going on down there right now.
He's Italian, and the other guy's a Canadian. They can't understand him.
Well, that could be.
Well, again, Marcus Ambrose loses an over 8-second lead this time, as now you see in second place is Jacques Villeneuve. There is Scott Pruitt, Patrick Carpentier, and then Andrew Ranger. And since the leaders are not coming towards pit lane, in fact, they're going to have to go all the way around again as they've already passed pit in. We'll take this opportunity to step aside for a break. Here at Montreal, where history has been made, we are running in the rain in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. And it looks like the 64 is going on the hook. The NASCAR Nationwide Series at Montreal is brought to you by Lotrimin Ultra, the killer cure. And Vizio, America's fastest growing HD TV company. Find out more at Vizio.com. All right, we're under our third caution here at Montreal, and we've just had a bit of a chuckle at the expense of Carl Edwards. Take a look. Carl is fine right now, but this was Carl trying to do his impersonation of the window cleaner at your service station.
It's like a floor mop, doesn't it?
Well, he can't get it turned over.
Carl, turn it over, get it down there. He's trying to get a different grip. Vince, what's he got to say about that?
You know, actually, that was made for him in case the windows started fogging up on the inside. He could actually use it to clear off the windows on the inside should they be fogging, and I think he's just getting a little creative. You know what? I think Carl Edwards just has too much fun when he's out there on the racetrack. That's what it's all about. Remember at the beginning in the pre-race interview, he said, I hope it rains just to see what would happen. Well, he got his wish, right?
And they got these things called windshield wipers.
He doesn't have one.
Okay.
And he might make Sports Center with this. Look at this from the onboard.
I think he will be on Sports Center.
This has got to be a top 10 play. Come on. I mean, you're driving and you're cleaning your windshield at the same time.
I'm not sure he's allowed to do that.
Well, Joey Logano's doing the same thing behind him. I mean,
all right, let's bring you the best news for Carl Edwards fans, because he has moved ahead of Brad Keselowski in the points if the race stays in station as it is right now. Take a look, and you would see that Carl, running in 7th, would move ahead of Brad. Also some action down at the bottom of the field as Marcus Ambrose would move into the top 10 if he can hold on for this win.
Very close to Jason in 9th, too, so that's one thing. The better you do, the more points you get.
All right, so Carl's done cleaning the windshield, and we've advocated that goes to Sports Center for tonight. When we come back, hopefully we'll be ready to go green flag racing again at Montreal. All right, we've got X Games 14 today, and we're getting ready for the 7 o'clock broadcast here on ESPN2, because we'll have Supermoto Final in the BMX Vert. And then tonight at 9 on ESPN, Shaun White competes in the Skate Vert, plus Bilko Williams and Nate Adams go for gold in Moto X Freestyle. That's X Games 14. We're still under our third caution here as the cars are heading towards the hairpin, as we saw all the events that were going on with the 64, and since then, Max Pappas shredded the left front tire. There was damage to the left front as they got the car restarted, and Max finds himself back in 30th position now, and there he is.
Looks like he got the fenders all pulled off, and it's missing part of the fender. The crew's trying to get the thing pounded out a little bit, but he'll be able to get back on the racetrack, that's for sure. And I don't know how important these aerodynamics are going to be, Randy, with as slow as they're going out there.
This is true, and see if the toe's right, but if that tire just come apart from a piece of metal sticking in it, you know, this thing wants to get back on the racetrack and pick up points. This car's still in the points.
Oh, yeah, it's still in the points. And David Stremley normally drives this car, but this was a planned thing with Max to run the road course. That's the reason David's not in the car. He'll be back in the car from Michigan and the rest of the year.
And we'll be right up front with you. We do not have it on replay, so we don't know exactly how Max ended up into the tire barrier. There is the team car with the 66, and Stephen Wallace is right now shown in 11th position. He has moved up 29 positions since the start of this race. So we eavesdropped on the radio and checked in to see what was going on with the 66.
When I say talk to me, I mean you guys got to talk, because I swear I got my windshield's covered in mud. I ain't trying to yell at you guys, just weren't talking to me at all. Once the windshield's wet, it's fine, dude. But when I go back to green, when the shit's, you know, all like muddy, then I'm screwed because I can't see where I'm going.
So it goes back to green and shifts it. It's all muddy. You can't see what he's going. I guess that's the most critical part when he's grabbing the gears, and you really got to hold on to that thing tight. He just doesn't have the vision.
You know, he got mud on it, and he needs a lot of water to get that mud off that windshield.
Yeah, he's just got to have a lot of rain on it. Here they go. This should wash it off right here.
So as we're back to green flag racing, there goes Marcus Ambrose. What a familiar sight this has been. Oh, and look at behind in the battle for third. Listen to the Canadian fans. That's Carpentier in the 9. He's on the outside of the 40 of Pruitt. Oh, and he loses it there. Just a little too slick for him. He'll fall back in. So let's reset. It is Marcus Ambrose in front of Jacques Villeneuve. Scott Pruitt is now third. Patrick Carpentier is fourth. Carl Edwards has moved up to fifth around Andrew Ranger. And oh, Carl's getting it sideways.
He's got a great feel for a race car. He's checking these tires. He's like, how much grip do I have? And he's on 95 percentile all the time.
I guarantee you he wasn't working the squeegee at that particular moment. The pass for position behind him there is Joey Logano going around Andrew Ranger. So all of a sudden, in less than a lap, Ranger has dropped 2 spots.
Got to give these guys a chance to warm their tires back up and get back in a groove, get the rhythm going, because under caution, the track just got really wet again, so remember Ron Fellows, the guy who has 12 laps in hand over everybody in front of him? That is Fellows in the 5, zeroing in on the 20 of Joey Logano. That is for 6th position. Fellows may be in the best position of all if this race stays green from here on out.
One thing we have to notice, you know, it looks bright on TV, but it's getting darker and darker here too.
And the rain continues to fall. Carl tiptoeing around the corner. Meanwhile, the battle towards the front. Pruitt holding off the ever-charging number 9 of Patrick Carpentier.
Tell you what, guys, it's wet as it's been all day long. The vision is really bad for the drivers right now. And it's getting dark outside, just like you said. Take a look at him getting down in the corner here.
Marcus Ambrose has already reestablished his 4-second lead. He is going to be...
All clear, buddy. Good job.
All right, so we're getting word that the 25 just came to pit lane. Mike?
Yeah, they were growing more and more frustrated by the lap. Frankie Stoddard wanted to make sure he could disconnect that rear bar. And he may have just got off the race course there a little bit as he struggles through the corner, but they felt like they were at a huge disadvantage, so they brought Borisset down pit road to make that adjustment and disconnect that rear bar, Marty.
All right, so again, we'll have to see how that strategy plays out as he now comes back out onto the racetrack and the latest to hit pit lane.
Guys, what I was trying to say earlier before we had to caution with Max Pappas, the 32 car of Jacques Villeneuve, he came by with the front sway bar unhooked and the rear sway bar unhooked, so that car has no sway bars whatsoever on it right now.
And I'm doing the calculations with the 40 laps to go. If this stays in a wet condition, I'll tell you what, Borisset could go the distance theoretically if he saves enough fuel.
That's what he said. You heard him say, hey, save me some fuel. So that means he's got to be very easy on the gas. But that's if this thing goes the distance. I'm not sure it's going to go to distance.
Well, as you can see, Marcus Ambrose, he's been getting the back end loose. In second place, it's Jacques Villeneuve as he has closed the gap down a little bit to 2.5 seconds. Then Patrick Carpentier, Scott Pruitt. So Pruitt has dropped back to 4th. And there is Andrew Ranger, who peels off. And Vince, you're there.
Well, Andrew Ranger took on 4 tires, and they, of course, filled it full of fuel. And most importantly, of course, obviously the fuel is incredibly important, but they needed to clean his windshield. They spent a lot of time on the windshield getting it clear for him. He missed it, cost a couple of spots, as you noted, Marty, in that previous run, and they wanted to make sure that his vision was not being impaired by the fogging of the windshield and the rain and the heavy dew that has accumulated here on these windshields on these race cars.
Oh, and Andrew Ranger competed with Colin Brown and Frizzell Wilkins in the 08 Rolex 24. So he has some experience, as we have already pointed out. His days in Champ Car was the youngest ever to finish on the podium in a Champ Car race, that being a second place finish. Meanwhile, I'll tell you what, we were getting ready to say it about Marcus Ambrose. He is going to get the nickname as the Rainmeister of NASCAR.
Take a look at this 32 car. If you look, you can barely, I saw underneath of it on a different shot. You can see the sway bars unhooked. And look how much the car's rolling, Randy.
Yep.
Rolling a lot to the left, rolling a lot to the right. A lot of body roll. See it right there underneath it. Completely unhooked. So it's what they do in the rain. I've always heard about this. I've never seen it. Made a pit stop and unhooked all the bars. Pretty cool.
And you heard the 59. They didn't do a whole lot at all. You know, so that just tells you that that race team needs to be commended, and Marcus is doing a wonderful job.
All right, we are approaching the halfway mark. The race will be official, but what's the word down in pit lane about going the distance, Jackaroo?
Well, Marty, we should point out NASCAR is mum. They intend to run this race all the way to the end. But if you listen to some of the crew chiefs and the chatter on the radios back and forth between the drivers, and you're not quite sure, is it wishful thinking, or are some teams starting to think that this thing will not go the distance? Randy LaJoie, you touched upon the subject. Just like a lot of crew chiefs in their conversations back and forth with their drivers right now. That means they're going to have to try and make fuel the same way as some of the others, including Boris Said, are trying to right now.
Tell you what, these guys pitted on lap, I guess it was lap 10 when he put fuel in it. The guy's leading the race, actually. They can go to lap 40 or 42, which is going to be well past halfway. 37 laps is the halfway here at Montreal, so I'm sure they're going to want to get past that in case this thing does get red flagged for some reason. But right now, guys, it just all looks good. Just looks good out there right now. These guys are driving in rain pretty good.
Well, and here's Joey Logano taking a little off-road excursion and
coming in hot. That's one of the areas that they don't make you stop.
Well, Joey's back out on course and is still in 6th position, as it is Marcus Ambrose still leading by 3.6 seconds over Jacques Villeneuve, and the fellow Canadian Patrick Carpentier in 3rd. Don't go away. This is still far from over. Back here at Montreal, and you're looking at Scott Wimmer. He came in with 39 laps to go. We've just passed the halfway mark, and the team took fuel only, and they think they can go the distance if it stays green. So that's their story. So Wimmer in 25th and trying to work his way back to the front. Let's get you caught up to speed with our Nationwide Insurance Up to Speed report with Vince Welch. You're first.
Well, Marcus Ambrose in the 59 is the leader, and it's been a picture-perfect day for him, if not for the fans and those of us that are outside enduring the elements. Ambrose has had a great car. He's been pulling away, and his crew believes they can make it, obviously, on one more stop, and they're looking to pit at lap 40 and then going the distance. Mike?
The big question in the Jacques Villeneuve camp right now is fuel mileage. Not too long ago, there was a big powwow between representatives from TRD and Mike Hillman Jr., the crew chief, trying to figure out just how far they can go. There's no information as to determine whether or not they can go the distance, but they're hoping to come in around lap 46. Meanwhile, Patrick Carpentier, well, he got a little bit of advice from a friend during the last caution period. He had his manager call a friend who has raced here frequently in the rain. That friend gave him some advice on how to take turn 6 and turn 1 a little bit wider when it comes to the rain. Then, of course, there is Scott Pruitt. That team came in here with some very high expectations. So far, they've been running pretty well and expect to compete for this win. The big problem they're facing right now, visibility. Next time down pit road, they're going to adjust the windshield wiper. The blade right now not functioning at all. Meanwhile, Marcus Ambrose, your leader, having trouble.
He has gone off course, and here comes Jacques Villeneuve smelling blood. Ambrose looks like he may actually still hold on to the race lead.
He's been very aggressive. I've been watching him. He's been wheel hopping it, and he's been very aggressive here in the slick weather, that's for sure.
That's his first error of the day. Everything else has been picture perfect for Marcus in the 59. And Villeneuve right there behind him as the gap has narrowed, but boy, Marcos getting right back into rhythm. Let's go back, take another look.
That was right there where Max got into it too, so that's very close. He got into that pavement. I think he stayed in that pavement before he got into the grass.
Somehow still manages to hold on to the race lead. As we said, we've just passed the halfway mark, so this race is official.
Wow.
Down into the hairpin, and look at the crowd. Listen to him.
The last time by, he was 4.5 seconds back. Now he's on his back bumper. Those fans are like, go get him, sucker.
And these two have pulled away from third place, Patrick Carpentier, by 11 seconds.
As you see the brake lights.
And 4, I need 3 more laps.
Okay, somebody on the radio saying I need 3 more laps.
I do believe that was Gary Cogswell.
Now, don't forget that the top 3 are going to have to pit. And that was Marcus's radio, so Gary was giving him the 3-lap cue. But the man in 4th place, Ron Fellows, has a total of 12 laps in hand. And as we pointed out, this race is official, although all intents and purposes, NASCAR wants to go the distance. There's the man that's going to inherit the lead if nothing untoward happens, because the 3 in front of him have to come in soon.
When you look at Boris said, that might be some great strategy. He was about 2 laps earlier than Scott Wimmer pitting. So Boris might be looking good to the end of the second.
Yeah, Boris and Wimmer could also, because you're right, the 5 of Ron Fellows will have to stop for at least a splash. And remember, pit lane speed is 30 miles an hour. But if you get a big enough lead and it stays green, you might be able to get in and get out.
Absolutely.
That's the great thing about road course racing. The strategies that come into play don't always have the number of passes, Rusty, that we are used to in the ovals, but boy, the strategy sure does get interesting.
It really does. And the thing I'm wondering right now, Marty, is this fuel mileage stuff is just all over the place. I don't think any of these teams really know exactly what they're getting because they're running so slow out there. So it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen for the distance. I just think that these guys are expecting a lot out of their cars, especially Scott Wimmer, thinking he can run almost close to 40 laps. It could be incredible. Jack, what about Scott Wimmer?
Well, Rusty, that is going to be the plan for Scott Wimmer. They have made their final pit stop. They did not change tires. They were happy, but they packed it full of fuel. Remember, he's been off sequence for quite some time now. I talked to their crew chief, and he said, we're done, providing something untoward doesn't happen out there.
And Jack, while all that is going on, I've been watching Scott Pruitt. His lap times are sinking. I mean, he is dropping like a stone out there. Remember, the word from pit lane was that Pruitt in the 40 car could not see. And if you can't see your braking point, well, then you've got to back it off, and you can't go as fast. Meanwhile, look at what's happened with Marcus. Makes the mistake, comes back, reopens the lead.
Yeah, he just made one mistake and got back in the groove and got his rhythm back right now, Marty. Looks like he's going to be fine. But, you know, go back talking about Scott Pruitt. That last time by, he was 5 seconds off the pace. So it's got to be vision. We've been hearing a lot of drivers complaining that they just simply can't see. So I'm sure that's what's going on with Scott.
He lost his wiper blade. You can see just the arm sitting up there. He does not have a blade on that, and that would help. He usually needs a blade to clean that water off of that thing.
Look at this battle. This is getting interesting. Patrick Carpentier in the 9 ahead of the 5 of Ron Fellows. And this is for position. 4th on the racetrack is at stake.
You know, Fellows has had those windshield wipers going just steady like that throughout the whole race. He hasn't been complaining about anything whatsoever when it comes to vision. And you got to believe this is just because of experience.
Yes.
We get word that Greg Biffle is pulled into pit lane, Vince.
4 tires and fuel for the Roush machine, and Greg Biffle running in 8th. He's having a good run today. Remember, 20th here a year ago. This will be their last stop going to the end.
So Biffle is good to go. Question will be, do we stay green? Slower traffic, easily maneuvered around by the battle for fourth. Carpentier still ahead of Fellows, but Fellows making a move towards the inside. And we get word Carl Edwards, there he is, coming back out onto the racetrack. So Carl has made his last stop.
And they both made it out right in front of Wimmer.
So that is for position on the racetrack as well. Back to this battle right now. Whoop, little tail happy. And Carpentier signaling out the window. Yeah, I think he's
pitting.
He's telling Fellows, I'm coming into the pits,
yep.
Ronnie.
Because what happens is these guys, you have to slow down so much, and you want to late arc this corner. Now that entry to pit road is right there. So these guys, okay, I mean, get out of your way, go around me, don't run in the back of me.
Nice move by Carpentier. Another nice move by Fellows. So here comes Carpentier, peels off from third for his final stop in this very soggy day at Montreal.
Down here at the end. It'll be fuel only, 2 cans. We'll pull the rear bar. We're going to go on the fuel, though. Go on me, Patrick.
As you heard him say, we're going to pull the rear bar. A lot of guys have done that already, and he needs a little bit more forward bite.
Slow is fast on this. Slow is fast.
Hey, Randy, it's got to cost
We'll be fine here.
It's got to cost a lot of time in the pit zone.
Slow it down here.
Correct.
Looking left. Go straight. Put on the brake.
And the team going to work, you can see them diving beneath the race car, disconnecting that rear bar. There was a lot of discussion over the radio between Kurt Almquist and Patrick Carpentier. Not really sure whether they should do it, but that is the way they're going to go. They're also going to take a full load of Sunoco race fuel. We go to Jackaroo.
And Mike Clint Boyer is on pit road. Expect nothing except changing those outside tires. Now they're going to the inside tires. We take a quick look at them. They look fine. They're going to pack this full of fuel. They know that their teammate Wimmer is off and already has a few laps ahead of him. Boyer is off and away.
And the stop was a little bit longer because the jack man slipped and fell on the way around from the right side to the left side.
They don't have rain sneakers.
Yeah, I started to say that's understandable to slip out here in this pit road as wet as it is right now.
That'll be the next invention by the shoe companies. Rain sneakers. Oh, Randy, I'll tell you. All right, take a look at Patrick Carpentier as he comes back out on the racetrack in 7th position. Let's take another look from the crew cam, and that is Brian Jacobson from Honesdale, Pennsylvania.
They just drug the guy out from under the car.
They really figured out that they could pull the pin on that rear sway bar about the same amount of times it takes to fill it up. Here comes our leader.
Race leader Marcus Ambrose now pulls into pit lane for what will be his final stop. Remember, it is a dredgingly slow 30 miles an hour down pit lane, and Marcus has to go all the way to the Ward's pit out. Vince, you're there.
Well, of course, this is the final pit stop for Marcus Ambrose, filling it full of Sunoco fuel and changing the 4 Goodyear tires. Gary Cogswell on the crew chief talking on the radio, encouraging his crew guys to hit those lug nuts hard. And he was also pleading with Marcus Ambrose to make sure he didn't slide through the box when he came in. He hit his marks perfectly, getting last drop of the Sunoco, and away he goes in the 59.
But again, a little bit slower stop. It's awfully treacherous in pit lane. Here comes Scott Pruitt as he has pulled off from 4th position. And Mike, he's heading your way.
And expect the team to go to work immediately on that windshield wiper. Scott Pruitt cannot see at all. It's fogging up the windshield and the blade not working whatsoever. And there they are working on the windshield. They'll also take a full fuel load, but no tire change is expected on the 40 car.
And we can also tell you Joey Logano has pulled into pit lane as well, as he was in 5th spot. As there he comes, as and Pruitt losing a lot of time here, up to 21 seconds. In fact, Logano's stop is done, and this has just basically cost them any chance.
Yeah, this is really killing them right now. I mean, 30 seconds, 31. I mean, gosh, there's a lot of guys out there with no windshield wipers at all. I'm not for sure why he had to do this. Looks like more of a problem inside the car. 40-second pit stop. That's just, wow.
And there's the 99 of David Rudiman. Jack, what happened in his pit?
What they call a nominal stop, if you can call any pit stop in the pouring rain. They took on the full 18 gallons of Sunoco fuel. They packed it full, and that was it. He's off and away. Rudiman's back to rooting around.
All right, well, we've got 33 laps remaining. The rain continues to fall. There is Brad Coleman in the 27. They're still working on his windshield wiper as well, and they're having problems up on the left front, trying to get the body damage that they suffered away from the tire.
Yeah, they're trying to get some downforce back to this front end and get it away from that tire, that's for sure. But even though they're going slow and it's raining hard, they need all that grip they can. So if they can get that front end fixed up, get that balance on the left front pulled out, Randy, so they get that thing down on the ground, it's got to help the kid.
You've seen them working in the left rear. I'm sure they also pulled the rear sway bar.
And Jacques Villeneuve, who had assumed the race lead, has now making his pit stop here as we have 32 laps remaining. Oh, no, you aren't going to believe what I'm going to tell you, folks. Marcus Ambrose is getting a speeding ticket. He was too fast coming into pit lane. He's going to have to come back in. And 99, we're being told. David Ruderman.
You got to do a pass through.
Unbelievable.
Here's Villeneuve's stop. Mike?
And he is one of the few guys electing to change 4 tires. You can understand why. The rain now falling much harder than it had been the last several minutes. It started to come down as a downpour. 4-tire change in fuel for Jacques Villeneuve. Still trying to give the hometown fans here the thrill they've been waiting for. He's been running awfully strong all afternoon. A little bit of a bobble getting off pit road, but they're finally away.
Yeah, 18 seconds compared to some of the 30s and 34s we've seen. That's lightning quick.
That is not a bad pit stop. These crew chiefs just can't get around the car fast because of no grip with their tennis shoes. And so that's a pretty good stop for him. You see Joey Logano coming out right behind him here.
So we'll have to wait to see how it all cycles through. But remember, we told you who would be the big beneficiary on this round of pit stops? Ron Fellows. Yes, he is your race leader right now. And Joey Logano wants a piece of the 32. All right, let's go back and show you what happened with Marcus Ambrose coming into pit lane.
Trying to slow it down. You can see he's got the tires locked up.
Rear tires completely stopped. I mean, that's...
He couldn't get it done.
Hey, a rule's a rule, but under those conditions, you'd think there'd be a little bit of a break, but
well,
understand it.
He is going to have to do a pass-through. There is Scott Wimmer right ahead of Scott Pruitt. Now, remember, they have both made their final pit stops. And right now, it is a battle for 15th and 16th on the racetrack. That's how much track position Pruitt has lost.
And guys, this is as hard as it's rained all day long. You see Stanton Barrett around. That's entering turn that's exiting turn 14, actually. Come to the start-finish line.
He's got experience doing that. That's the second time.
And now we're being told the 59 was too fast both entering and exiting pit lane. So.
Right, they're backing up now to 1 minute 34 seconds. This is actually the slowest they've been all day long, guys, since when they started this race. So heavy rain out there at the moment.
And notice Joey Logano has gotten around Jacques Villeneuve. You talk about a confidence builder. He just passed an F1 champion. Take a look at this coming down pit lane as Ambrose is coming through for his pit lane violation. He's trying to get around the 52.
He's going to get another one if you don't be careful.
I'm wondering if he knows it's 30 miles an hour. I think they would remind him by now.
Well, it actually looked like the 52 car, Scott Gaylord, was barely moving there, guys, and Marcus is trying to get around him and just couldn't get it done. He's like, get out of the way.
Vince, what's going on in the pit?
Gary Cogswell, the crew chief on the 59. It looked as though Marcus was trying to slow down as he was coming on the pit lane. We saw the tires locking up. But was he? How far over was he? Did they say?
I don't know. You know, the pit road speed limits. It's really a good rule. It's really good for all the crew members. You know, it's just pretty frustrating to have ourselves in that position. You know, and have that kind of penalty. You know, pretty adverse conditions, a lot going on, and you know, I wasn't running the stopwatch or the radar gun, so I can't say if he's speeding or not, but it's their call, so we're stuck with the penalty.
Gary Cogswell certainly taking the high road on that one, guys.
Yeah, he is, and another guy taking the high road is the number 5 car right there from JR Motorsports, Ron Fellows. Remember we told you that pit stop would have dividends if it stayed green? So far it is working. Fellows leads by 42 seconds as everybody else has pitted, but he is still out there running strong. But will he make it to the end? We think he's definitely going to have to stop again, even though it is raining, and they're getting better fuel mileage. It's been a historic day and a very eventful one for Marcus Ambrose. This was early in the race as our first ever rain event in NASCAR history. He takes the lead, but then slides off and still manages to stay out front. But then the trouble. He goes too fast into pit lane, has to serve a pass-through penalty. But believe it or not, despite all this, with the heavy downpour and all the other problems everybody else is having, Marcus is in third, albeit 49 seconds behind the leader. And oh my, this is the one thing Ron Fellows doesn't want to hear. Full course caution has come out because of heavy rain. The drivers simply cannot see right now. Fellows loses a 43-second lead.
That's amazing. And when you know Ambrose is sitting there just licking his chops, he's like, okay, I want to race this guy. Let's go.
So our fourth caution of the day for the heavy rain, and Fellows would have probably had to stop again, but if he could have maintained that 45-second lead, he probably could have gotten in and out.
Well, he was
maintained it.
Marty, he was going to have to stop around lap 59 anyway to get fuel. He was no way in the world he's going to make it to the very end, but if they do call this race right now, hey, he's looking in pretty good shape right now. The drivers are telling us across the radios that it's just so hard to see. They have no visibility whatsoever. And as it's getting darker, the color looking out the windshield in the darkness is starting to blend together, and the vision is just going away at the moment.
And you can see how hard it is raining. We're getting some areas of standing water. Take a look at Ron Fellows. As you can see, his day has started 6th, was as low as 26th, and that was after he made his pit stop, which put him into this position. Now, if this race ends, he picks up his 4th career win.
But it's not Watkins Glen.
Well, and all his other 3 wins have come at the Glen. In fact, since you mentioned Watkins Glen, Mr. Lajoie, let's take you back and show you the 3 wins that Ron obtained. June of 1999 in the 87 Bell South car. That was numero uno. Then, with the Bully Hill sponsorship in 2000, familiar sight, Fellows seeing the checkered flag first, and then 1 year later, let's make it the hat trick, as they like to say in Canadian hockey. You can hear him screaming.
I think that was Joe Nemechek's car, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't Joe the owner of that team?
Yep.
Great job for Joe Nemechek. They put a good car underneath of him.
Well, they had a good driver, too. Take a look at his all-time standings in the road courses. 12 races. That ties him for first with a guy by the name, I think, weren't you? Oh, no. Well, you were 10 races, Randy.
Correct.
Yep. 12 would be with...
Look at him doing his windows.
Yeah, he's doing the windows.
Yeah, I wonder if he does laundry.
Yeah. He'll time with Jason Keller. That's who it ties him with the 12 starts.
Pretty interesting, guys, to see if they can actually finish this race. It's, like we said, it's getting really dark, and look at all that standing water right now.
That is the turn 1-2 complex, and boy, that's why another reason you don't want to hit the apex of the corner in the rain, because it is extremely slick, and especially you'll hydroplane with that much water.
I tell you another thing I'm amazed about. I'm really amazed that these ignition systems and these cars are holding on. I mean, a lot of water getting under distributors, underneath the engines, and inside the boxes that are on the dashboard of these cars. Everything's just got to be soaking wet.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the fans respond to this race, because I got to be honest, these guys have done a much better job than I ever anticipated. Rusty?
Look at all this stuff right down here. This is the ignition system on Mike Wallace's car. It's the same on everybody else's car. You can see the water, just around this area right here starting to come through. Just a little bit, not a lot. But the bigger problem would be on the spark plug wires, on a distributor, an alternator, Randy, all that type of stuff under the hood.
It's also something that we haven't thought about. These air cleaners go straight into the carburetor. These air cleaners got to be getting wet, because these things right at the windshield base is where the air intake is. So there's got to be some water in there.
Well, pit road is closed, so we'll continue under this caution. It is our 4th of the day, and your race leader is Ron Fellows. Patrick Carpentier is 2nd. Marcus Ambrose is 3rd. How is this going to unfold at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve? Stay with us to find out. Well, hopefully there'll be no rain tomorrow in Pocono, because our race presented by Cheez-It starts at 1 p.m. with Countdown on ESPN. Give you an idea where our double-duty drivers are going to be starting tomorrow. Greg Biffle will go off 9th, Carl Edwards 15th, David Reagan 16th, David Ruderman 28th, Clint Boyer 30th. That'll be tomorrow on ESPN at Pocono. All right, well, so far we've seen a lot of extra duty by our drivers. There's Carl Edwards earlier as he's trying to clean the outside. And then on the inside, this is what the squeegie's really meant to do.
You know what? That's one of the hardest things that we've seen back in Suzuka was the inside of his windshields just get totally fogged up. You can see his hose blowing on the corner of the windshield.
All right, let's check in with the crew chiefs. Vince?
With Dave Rogers of the 20 car. 9 times this season the 20 has been to victory lane. Now it might not become a 10th today, but Joey Logano's doing a heck of a job. First time on a road course, much less the rain. He's running 4th. How much have you had to kind of coach him around today?
Man, I don't know how much I have to coach him. I'm talking a lot. You know, we got such great employees at Joe Gibbs Racing. I got employees at Joe Gibbs Racing watching TV, texting me during the race, give me hints, you know, people that have road raced before, and I keep passing on to Joey, and he's doing a fantastic job. I'm so proud of that kid. He's, you know, he's not making mistakes. He's keeping on course, and he's running top 5 right now. I can't ask for any more.
Real quickly, what kind of road conditions has he passed along?
You know, at first we're real excited about this, and this is cool. This is history. This is a lot of fun. But right now, Joey thinks it's a little bit too wet, too unsafe. We're hydroplaning under caution. I'm starting to hear a lot of drivers talk about, maybe enough is enough right now before we get someone hurt. So I would like to see it end right now, or at least slow down and let them clear this track up a little bit, make it safer for the drivers.
Joey Logano, the 20 car, 18 years old. He's running 4th. Mike?
And Vince, Ron Fellows has 3 career Nationwide Series victories, and he's the guy in the catbird seat right now. But catching up with his crew chief, Cam Strader, how much longer can you keep him out there before you have to pull him down pit road?
We still have quite a bit of fuel left in the car right now. The GoDaddy.com Chevrolet's running great, and our pit strategies hopefully will pay off for us. I tell you, it's just way too dangerous for him to race out there right now, and hopefully NASCAR will call this thing off. So we're I'd say I love working with Ron. He has such great experience that he's really taught me a lot. This being my 2nd race crew chief, and so it's just kind of an awesome deal being out here leading the race and with the great chance of winning this thing.
Well, you can understand, Marty, why they may be lobbying to end this race. Their original pit window called for them to be on pit road in about 5 laps from now.
And like every crew chief, oh no! Jacques Villeneuve with damage under the caution. I mean, this nose got punched in like it was at the Friday night fights that were here in town last night.
He just slid up underneath somebody. That's what happened. He didn't see somebody, and I thought that was a problem when he come on pit road. He couldn't see. So now he just run over somebody.
Wow. Well, we'll follow up on that story because that is definitely changing the complexion. Paulie McCauley, one of our crew, and we want to salute them all because it has been a very long and wet day for everybody down there. Thanks, guys. You've done great work. All right, while we continue under caution, let's talk about the weekend and the motorsports calendar. Of course, NASCAR Now is going to be on tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and then the Sprint Cup starts at 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN from Pocono. And then NASCAR Now comes back up to wrap up the weekend, 10 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2, and then again on Monday at 5 Eastern, also on ESPN2. Well, as we look at Jacques Villeneuve with a very stuffed front end, we're trying to check on what happened to him, and Mike, he can't see.
Yeah, and that seems to be the problem, and apparently they can't communicate either. Mike Hillman Jr. still unable to get in contact with his driver, but do you have any idea what might have just occurred?
You know, he's trying to talk to me right now, so we'll be quick, but he said earlier that when he got within 10 feet of him, he couldn't see him, so you know, he's done a heck of a job, and I'm really proud of everybody working on this Braun Toyota Camry. We had a shot for this thing. We'll look and see what we got and try to finish out. You know, we hope to bring Jack a win in his hometown.
Obviously a heartbreaking, very disappointing situation here for the 32 team. Marty?
We don't have video of it, but the word we got from outside on the track was that one of the cars checked up, he couldn't see, and that might be the car that ended up getting the other end of this deal.
That's a pretty good indication, I'd say, right there, because, I mean, boy, Jacques really hit him hard, and it almost looks like there's oil coming out of the bottom of that 32 car. You see underneath it right there, a whole different color, and might be losing oil right there also.
Do you think that'll slick up the racetrack a little bit?
I think it's as slick as it can get right now. That's
no, the 20 car, Joey Logano, is into the wall. Wow. So now a great run for Logano. He was running in 4th, and that car is just a mess. And we're under caution. And I'm sure that NASCAR is going to start taking a look at this.
Yeah,
it is getting dark. It is very wet. And we're now having guys that have a lot of issues under caution. We'll check with NASCAR and all the other issues that are going on. And there goes Patrick on by, and stay with us. We'll try and sort this out. This is unreal. We've had more accidents under caution than we've had under green. Well, as the rain continues to pour and Jacques Villeneuve has finally made it back to pit lane, we'll remind you that coming up next here on ESPN2, it'll be X Games 14 from Los Angeles. And yeah, the day is done for the 32 after the full course caution collision that he had with Alex Garcia in the 98. We also saw the 20. Let's check in first with Mike Massaro, who's caught up with Jacques.
And he's just gotten out of the race car. Jacques, what happened?
Just had oil on the windshield, and without a wiper I couldn't get rid of it, so I just couldn't see a thing.
What were the conditions like out there?
It was just before the last safety car was it became a little bit slippery, but you know, it was raceable as long as you could see where you're going.
You're not the only one who's encountered some difficulty over here the last couple of laps. Joey Logano just hit the wall as well. Do you expect we can go back to green flag racing?
Oh, it'd be good. You know, the driving is okay as long as you can get the water off your windshield. So if you have a wiper, you're probably all right.
Well, tough break.
Thank you.
Disappointed,
Mike, we also saw the end result of Joey Logano. Logano up against the wall with Dave Rogers. Dave, you just told me a few moments ago that Joey indicated the conditions were really too bad to be out there. What happened in his incident?
Well, I mean, the priority in this sport has to be our drivers. And you had a number of drivers on the radio saying that they can't see, they're hydroplaning under caution. And I don't think that as a series we did a good job of listening to those, and we fell victim. Joey couldn't see, guy just stopped in front of him, and we run into the back of him. He had no warning the guy was going to stop. You know, I'll be first to admit I had a lot of fun today. This is cool. First points race in rain, but when drivers are saying enough is enough, I think we got to heed that caution, and we did not today.
Good run for Joey Logano, coming to an end, one lap too late for the red in that situation, guys.
Yes, we have gone red here for the second time, and NASCAR's put all the cars on pit lane. And Logano was in fourth when the crash occurred. We're going to step aside one more time, and Jacques Villeneuve is out of the race, and I think a lot of those are Jacques fans as they are heading for the exits here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Stay with us. We'll get the word from NASCAR as soon as we can, and we'll pass it on. The NASCAR Nationwide Series in Montreal brought to you by Carfax. And the rain continues to pour here as you see the fans filing out by the Biosphere, walking across the bridge back to the mainland. And let's take a look at the way they stand right now under the second red flag for heavy rain, with 48 of 78.4 official laps in the books. Ron Fellows ahead of Patrick Carpentier. Marcus Ambrose, the leader of most laps today, is third. And notice that Carl Edwards is in sixth right now, and Clint Boyer is in ninth. And you're saying, wait a minute, where is Mr. Keselowski in the points chase championship? Well, he is in 12th, and you'll see him in the second page. And let's quickly check in with Mike Massaro.
And catching up with Ron Fellows, your race leader, as you sit here under the red flag condition. You are the guy leading this field. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, the problem right now is there's so much flooding and any kind of traffic you can't see or accelerate. You know, the puddles are just so bad right now. I don't know how we'll ever race in this stuff now.
What has it been like out there in terms of competitiveness? How competitive has it been?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been, we've had a decent day all day with the Chevy, and I think, you know, the difficulty now is the heavy rain has created so much puddles, it's just dangerous.
And one thing, Marty, that Ron was telling me about before they came, you can take a look at his visor. It's all steamed up, having a very difficult time seeing here, Vince.
Well, Mike, Patrick Carpentier sitting in second, but sitting in the car. And I'll tell you, as I look through here, I can't imagine driving a race car with this lack of vision. I guess, Patrick, the how much has the windshield wiper helped you? Because what I see through this window looked like it'd be pretty tough to drive any car, much less a race car.
Yeah, you know, it really helps. What I was doing is I was turning it on in the low-speed corners, and off down the straightaway it would stick up and then stay there, so couldn't really use it. But we could see straight, but when I'm turning right, I can't see the right side because it's too foggy. So, and at the end I couldn't see through the back window, so it was getting pretty hard there. Very, very low visibility. I don't think people have any idea of how low visibility this thing is, so it was a good thing to stop it. I'm not happy because I think we could win the race, but it's a safer way to go.
The right thing to do, according to Patrick Carpentier. Marty?
Ah, yes. Could Patrick finish one spot short as the fans continue to head for the exits? If they did restart it, a lot of them would be cheering for Carpentier to get around Fellows, but we'll have to wait to see if that happens.
The rain continues here in Montreal under a red flag condition for the Nationwide Series, but stay with us because coming up next will be the X Games, and it will be sunny there. Sitting out here in the rain with Boris Said and with Carl Edwards, who I don't have enough common sense to come in out of the rain, but you guys should. First of all, Boris, tell me about the conditions out there.
Well, I mean, I think it was a pretty cool experiment NASCAR did. I mean, it was a blast out there, but unfortunately now it's just raining so hard and there's so much standing water, because if we're at Watkins Glen or somewhere, I think we'd be all right, but on these street courses, you know, the walls hold the water in. But it's a lot of fun, and I feel really good about my Advanced Auto Parts car and No Fear Energy Drink and Smithfield Foods. We're having a blast out there in our Ford Fusion.
You know, when guys make history, fellas, they got to, as soon as they get out of the car, what they want to do is compare notes. We've got Clint Boyer over here. We've got everybody coming in. Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards, and you guys are all kibitzing. You made history. You've been running in the rain. What are you thinking? Nice squeegee, by the way.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm trying to get Clint to tell me what he's doing. He's fast right now. But we're having fun. I mean, you know, it's not good to see guys wrecking under yellow, but, man, if it'll just kind of quit pouring a little bit, it's really pretty fun to do. I'd give anything for a pair of... Oh, it's over? They just said it's over. All right, so it was a great race, a lot of fun, and see y'all next week.
Boy, that's the way to break the news, huh, fellas?
Well, take a look as the 5-car has been told. In fact, they got the word before we got the word. So congratulations are going to go to Ron Fellows and the number 5 team as he picks up his 4th career Nationwide Series win, the other 3 at Watkins Glen. We'll talk to him right here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve when we return in a very soggy but a very happy day for Ron Fellows. Stay with us. Back here at a very soggy Montreal, where the race has been officially called with 26 laps remaining. So the historic day ends under a red flag situation. Let's quickly go to Jack Arute.
Well, Marty, Marcus Ambrose and I made a long walk down the end of pit row because you wanted to check on one thing.
I mean, I just wanted to see where the pit exit was. You know, I just couldn't see a thing. I cleared the end of pit lane. I saw the flashing lights. I went, and I think there's like 20 feet difference or so. So, you know, we've dominated the race twice here in 2 years and haven't closed the deal. So I'm just bitterly disappointed. You know, I feel a little robbed. You know, we dominated today's race. What can you say?
Well, when you dominate like that, what is the feeling when you don't have it pay off in the end?
Well, it doesn't feel too good, I'll tell you that. Just heart-wrenching, you know, for STP and Kingsford and JTG Doherty Racing, who have committed to me. And, you know, I just feel a little jinx right now. You know, I've come close to winning a lot of races now, and I just can't seem to close the deal for whatever reason. And, you know, I'll take the blame. If I sped down pit lane, I sped. I just didn't see the end of pit lane.
Marty, you walked all the way up here just to see, just 20 feet short.
Well, and he was caught speeding both going in, because we saw him sliding as he was trying to get into a stop, and also on the way out. So a tough break for him as he led the most laps, 27. Second best was Scott Pruitt with 13. Take a look at the unofficial results across the top of your screen. And now we'll go into our temporary victory lane with Mike Massaro.
And Ron Fellows just getting his composure right now, gathering his thoughts. He's a winner again in the Nationwide Series for the 4th time. You can see the emotion on his face. This is a track where he has wanted to win his entire career. Gilles Villeneuve was his hero. He's finally won here. Fellows climbing from the car right now, and what a wild day. How would you describe it?
That is difficult. I mean, it's, you know, we've had a little bit of that in over in France with the Corvette in Le Mans, but first, you know, Dale Jr., thank you, GoDaddy.com, Chevrolet, and the fans here. They stuck it out the whole time. That's just amazing. These guys are great. This was good fun. Now I got to try to beg Dale Jr. to let me run next week.
You told me earlier in the weekend you used to come here as a fan, as an impressionable young race car driver. What's it mean for you to win here?
Well, to win, you know, Gilles was one of my heroes, and I didn't wear the T-shirt during the race just out of respect for Jacques, but I got it back in the hauler. This is incredible. I'm going to lose it. Honey, get over it. Yes, get over here. We're gonna. I don't know how many more of these we're gonna have.
He's calling for his wife and family to come in this celebration. And obviously a lot of emotion here in Victory Lane, Marty.
And I think this is a celebration that is going to go a long time into the night. As we take you Saturday, 2:30 Eastern on ABC for the NASCAR Nationwide Series next week at Watkins Glen. Don't miss the Sprint Cup Series at Pocono tomorrow at 1 p.m. on ESPN. And coming up next, it's X Games 14 from Los Angeles. For our entire ESPN crew, for Rusty Wallace, Randy LaJoie, Mike Massaro, Jack LaRute, and Vince Welch, I am Marty Reed. Thank you so much for joining us on this historic day as we congratulate Ron Fellows on his win here at Montreal. Till we meet again.